Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a day you probably wouldn't survive. Imagine waking up not to the buzz of your phone or the smell of coffee, but to the scratchy tickle of smoke drifting from a dying fire and the damp breath of early morning mist curling off the ground.
There is cool, prickling your skin and your pillow.
Well, it's a bundle of dry grass that smells faintly of last night's smoke and someone's sweaty elbow. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening right now, drop a comment telling me where you're from and what time it is. Let's see how far across the world we all are. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your eyes open before the sun edges over the horizon. Primitive mornings don't wait for anyone. The fire has slipped into an ashy whisper, glowing coals peeking through gray powder. It's your first task: stir it, coax a spark into life, and add kindling until flames lick the cool air again. The ground is uneven, your back is stiff from sleeping on earth packed with roots, and you already miss mattresses you don't even have yet. Around you, figures stir: family, clan, tribe, depending on what label you'd slap onto a group who probably doesn't even need a word for label. Children rustle under fur throws while the older ones grunt their way upright, shaking out hair thick with smoke and grease. There's no toothbrush here. Breath smells are, let's just say this is not the place for minty freshness.
Still, survival doesn't leave time for dental complaints.
You feel the dampness of dew on your fingers when you crawl outside the shelter, which is little more than bent saplings draped with animal skins and layered branches. The shelter does its job, keeps the wind off your back and the rain out of your eyes, but it isn't Instagram-worthy. Yet in this simple half-dome you find the bones of architecture, evidence that people thousands of years ago were experimenting with space, shelter, and comfort. Historians still argue whether structures this early were temporary campsites or semi-permanent homes. You just know they creak, smell faintly of hides, and always need fixing. The air is thick with the earthy perfume of soil, smoke, and yesterday's hunt drying on a rack nearby. That rack, by the way, is genius. Sticks angled together, slabs of meat stretched across, smoke curling through like a primitive smoker. Early food preservation, courtesy of ingenuity and a desire not to starve tomorrow. A mainstream fact? Yes, smoking and drying were staples of prehistoric survival.
Quirky tidbit.
Some communities actually rubbed animal fat mixed with ashes onto meat before drying it, swearing it kept flies away. Appetizing? Not really. Effective? Kind of. The quiet is deep, broken only by birds shaking themselves awake in the branches overhead. You spot one of the elders scanning the sky, noting how the clouds stretch across the horizon. Reading weather signs isn't a party trick, it's a matter of life and death. Will the hunt be easier today?
Will the river swell?
Scholars debate whether early people passed down this knowledge through formal teaching or casual observation. For you right now, it's a casual observation, and you hope the clouds mean not rain. You stretch, rubbing sore muscles, and notice how silence here is not empty. It hums with distant croaks of frogs, with leaves shivering in the morning breeze, and with the occasional snap of twigs under bare feet. Each sound has meaning.
A rustler too heavy.
Could be a deer. Or something bigger. Something with teeth. Your senses are on high alert in a way modern city dwellers rarely experience, like your ears and nose are caffeine-loaded, though you're still dragging. You wander toward the river carrying a carved wooden vessel, because if you want to drink this morning, you're going to have to haul it yourself.
Fogged faucets, fogged taps.
The trail is slippery, dew turning the dirt slick. Your toes grip mud, cold and wet. A joke comes to mind: you'd kill for waterproof Crocs right now, but here you are, barefoot, praying the squish between your toes is just mud and not something less polite. As you bend to scoop water, you catch your reflection, hair-matted, smoke-stained face, a smear of yesterday's berry juice like war paint across your cheek. You look fierce in a messy caveman chic way. Or maybe you look like you lost a food fight. Depends on the angle. Either way, you're alive, and in this time period, that's already a flex. There's always danger by the river. Crocodiles lurk in warmer climates, or maybe it's just leeches here waiting to make your ankle their breakfast buffet. You keep your eyes sharp, filling your vessel, feeling the weight drag your shoulders as you carry it back. Every drop matters. There are no Brita filters, no tap refills. Water is lifeblood, and carrying it is daily cardio, whether you like it or not. Back at camp, others are stirring more actively now. Children chase each other in circles, still half asleep but buzzing with energy that hasn't yet been dulled by chores. The elders watch with that mix of tolerance and annoyance that says some things never change, no matter the century. Breakfast waits for no one. Soon there will be porridge made from gathered grains, nuts cracked open with stones, maybe even a scrap of dried meat if yesterday's hunt was generous. But right now you stand in the slow bloom of dawn, breath visible, toes numb, ears tuned to the rhythm of a world not yet conquered by machines or apps. Your day has begun. The fire is alive again. The group is stirring. And the sun, just now peeking golden above the horizon, reminds you that survival is a full-time job. The fire's heat is finally licking at your palms, and the camp is beginning to buzz with that slow, groggy rhythm of bodies waking up. But there's no such thing as lounging in bed here, unless you count the bed of leaves and hides you just crawled out of. The day waits for no one, and the first big job is already calling, the morning water run. The clay or wood container in your hands feels rough, uneven, and heavier than you'd like, but it's the lifeline of the entire group. Without water, you don't just get thirsty, you risk losing cooking, cleaning, even the delicate balance of fire safety. And so you set off down the narrow trail again, retracing the steps you scouted at dawn. The river, when you reach it, glimmers silver beneath the rising sun. A thin mist hovers over its surface, swirling lazily like it has all the time in the world, while you, with your empty vessel, don't. Your bare feet slide against pebbles, slick as soap underwater. The stones grind into your soles, sharp enough that you wonder how callous they'll get after weeks of this. Maybe enough to make you forget shoes even exist. As you crouch, your knees crack like twigs. The water is so clear you can see fish darting in flashes of gold and silver, their scales glinting as if mocking you. Try catching us without hooks. You dip your container carefully, steadying it so it doesn't tip sideways and lose everything. Each scoop is a reminder that life here is built on constant effort.
You want water? Carry it.
You want food? Hunt it. You want a break? Well, good luck convincing everyone else to pick up your slack. There's a mainstream fact here worth pausing on. In many prehistoric societies, water runs were communal responsibilities. Often, women and older children carried out the task, balancing vessels on their heads or shoulders, while men prepared for hunts or tool-making. But these roles weren't set in stone. Archaeological evidence suggests plenty of crossover. Historians still argue whether gender roles in early groups were rigid or flexible, and you realize, trudging back uphill with your sloshing load, that whoever did this job, their shoulders ached the same way yours do now.
Halfway back, you notice something, barely, their tracks pressed into soft earth near the trail. Hoofprints, maybe.
They seem fresh. Could mean prey wandered close to camp in the night. Or predators. You pause, scanning the brush, your ears stretching for sound. The forest hums with insects, birds trilling overhead.
Nothing stares out of place.
You can't shake the feeling of being watched. You shake your head. Paranoia maybe, but paranoia keeps you alive out here. Back at camp, others have already started the daily routine. Someone is sharpening a blade by striking stone against stone, sparks spitting into daylight. Another is weaving a mat of reeds for sitting or for carrying gathered roots. The rhythm of life is practical, repetitive, and strangely comforting, like background music on repeat. You set down your vessel, water sloshing against its sides, and let out a sigh heavier than the container itself. Here's the quirky tidbit of the morning. Some groups believed that rivers had spirits that could curse or bless the drinker. That's why in a few traditions people spat into the water before drinking it, sort of a weird hello or maybe an act of humility. Imagine walking up to a modern kitchen sink and spitting before filling your glass. Not so appealing now, but to them it was respectful. You glance at your water jug and wonder whether you should try it. Then again, maybe don't, no need to gross out your future self. With the water handled, the next task falls into place, preparing the morning meal. Grains crushed with stones into coarse flour are mixed with water into a thick paste like porridge. It doesn't look like much, but hunger makes anything taste like a feast. Children lick their fingers, impatient, while adults scoop steaming handfuls into bowls carved from wood or even hollowed-out bone. The porridge is bland, yes, but imagine living without sugar, salt, or spice. Your taste buds recalibrate. The tiniest sweetness from a wild berry tossed in feels like dessert. You watch as someone sprinkles ash over the fire pit's edge deliberately, like seasoning. At first you think it's nothing, but then you remember ash has uses. It repels insects, acts as a mild preservative, even helps in cleaning.
Zone sei rupping a little into your hair capes lis avi. You consider trying it, primitive dry shampoo maybe? Though it probably doesn't smell like coconut vanilla. After breakfast, the clan begins to prepare for the larger rhythms of the day. The hunters gather, speaking in low tones, trading jokes you can't quite catch but that make them grin wide, teeth flashing like small bones in the morning light. The foragers sling woven baskets over their shoulders, setting out to scour the nearby woods for berries, nuts, and edible greens. And you? You fall somewhere in between, neither the stealthy tracker nor the seasoned gatherer, just someone still figuring out which side you belong to. As the camp scatters, the landscape itself draws your attention. Trees stretch high, their canopies forming a patchwork ceiling where sunlight filters through like shards of broken glass. The air smells damp, earthy, with hints of flowers hidden beneath leaves. You pass by a bush heavy with berries, their skins glossy and inviting, but you hesitate. One wrong bite could turn breakfast into poison. Historians still argue how much prehistoric people knew about edible versus toxic plants, trial and error, oral teaching, or sheer luck. All you know is you're not eager to play poison roulette before lunch. You notice the tools others carry, spears tipped with sharpened stone, their handles smoothed from endless grip, small bone knives tucked into belts, nets woven from plant fibers, surprisingly strong despite their flimsy look. Tools here aren't luxury, they're extensions of the body. Lose your spear and you've lost your claws. Forget your knife and you've left your teeth behind. You touch the crude blade at your side and feel a little safer, though you also know it wouldn't do much against something larger than a deer. The walk to the river, repeated throughout the day, etches itself into your bones. It's cardio, weight training, mindfulness, and stress test all at once. You wonder briefly whether prehistoric people had fewer gym injuries. After all, the whole world was their gym. You glance at your arms, muscles already burning from the effort, and think, skip leg day? Impossible. Leg day is every day. Returning to camp for the second time, the mood has shifted. Children are now chasing each other in wild circles, shrieking laughter that cuts across the stillness. Elders sit in a small huddle, talking low about the signs of the season, where the sun rises, how the shadows fall. To them, these are not abstract puzzles. They're calendars guiding when to move, when to stay. You hear one mutter that the bird's patterns suggest migration soon. Another disagrees. Historians still argue whether migrations were planned or reactive. To you, it feels like trying to read the future in cloud shapes. By now, sweat trickles down your back, sticky, mingling with the dust that clings to your skin. No showers, no soap, just dirt and maybe a dip in the river if you're lucky. Hygiene is functional here. Wash when you must, and even then, water is precious. Still, you scratch at an itch on your arm, wondering if it's just dust or some bug that sees you as breakfast. The morning water run has become more than just a chore. It's the opening act of survival. Each step teaches patience, endurance, and awareness of the land. The sun climbs higher, shadows shorten, and your body already aches with the knowledge that this is just the beginning of a long day.
Tomorrow, we'll do it all over again.
And the day after that. Because life here doesn't pause. It flows forward like the river you draw from, steady, unstoppable, indifferent to your size. The morning water has been hauled, your arms are sore, and the first grains of porridge have warmed your stomach. But the fire, always the fire, needs tending. It is the true center of camp, the heartbeat of life, and without it, everything falls apart.
You crouch close, smoke curling into your eyes, and felt a sting.
Tears stream down your cheeks, not from sadness, but from the acrid embrace of burning wood. Primitive mornings always smell like smoke, taste like asha, and carry the steady pulse of survival. You poke the embers with a stick, coaxing orange veins into little flames. The fire sputters, resists, then catches. Sparks leap like miniature stars, vanishing in the daylight. You know enough by now to cup your hands around your mouth, blowing gently into the coals. Too strong and you scatter them, too weak and they sulk in silence. There's a rhythm to it, as intimate as breathing. And here's the historical nugget tucked into this moment. Archaeologists agree that mastery of controlled fire was one of the most significant leaps in human history, possibly dating back hundreds of thousands of years. Fire wasn't just warmth, it was light, safety, cooking, and even social glue. Historians still argue whether early humans stumbled upon it first by accident, lightning strikes, volcanic eruptions, or through deliberate experimentation. Either way, sitting here with smoke stinging your nose, you're grateful someone figured it out. With the flames alive again, it's time to prepare breakfast properly. The foragers return with handfuls of nuts, seeds, and a few wild tubers. Someone cracks open acorns, laboriously leaching them of their bitter taste in a stream nearby. Another grinds seeds on a flat slab of rock, turning them into coarse flour. The grinding stone itself is smooth from years of use, grooved from thousands of circular motions. You watch, hypnotized by the sound, a steady scrape, scrape, scrape. Like a drumbeat of daily labor.
The mixture that emerges is not luxurious.
Don't imagine pancakes, don't imagine pastries. Instead, think of a dense paste mixed with water, then cooked slowly in a pot of clay balanced precariously on the fire. It bubbles, splatters, and smells faintly nutty, like burnt popcorn mixed with damp wood. Your stomach growls anyway. Hunger doesn't care about culinary stars. Hunger just wants fuel. While you wait, someone pulls out a chunk of dried meat from the rack, a strip dark and stiff, more like leather than food. They soften it briefly near the flames, tearing off pieces with their teeth. You join in, chewing until your jaw aches. It tastes smoky, salty if you're lucky, and sometimes when the preservation goes wrong, just a little sour. You chew anyway. Calories are survival even if they come with an unpleasant tang. There's also the quirky fringe detail you overhear as the elders sit near the fire. One of them sprinkles a pinch of ash directly into the porridge pot. You blink. Did they just season breakfast with dirt? But to them, ash isn't dirt. It's useful. In some prehistoric groups, ash was thought to strengthen food, to purify it, even to ward off sickness. Imagine stirring a spoonful of fireplace into your oatmeal. Not exactly gourmet, but hey, no one's invented cinnamon sugar yet. Breakfast is also when gossip simmers as much as the porridge. The hunters tease each other about missed throws from yesterday's hunt, their laughter rough but genuine. Children scuffle, fighting over the biggest nut, until an elder barks a warning sharp enough to make them freeze mid-grab. Someone hums softly, a half-song, half-prayer as they stir the pot. It's not formal music, just a rhythm that makes the work feel lighter. When the porridge is ladled out, the bowls are uneven, one carved from wood, another from bone, another a crude hollowed stone. You cradle yours carefully, blowing on the steaming mush. The first taste is bland, yes, but it fills your belly with warmth. It feels like energy, like the promise of movement. Around you, others slurp in silence, eyes half closed, shoulders hunched. Breakfast is not about conversation. It's about gathering strength for what lies ahead. Of course, strength here doesn't just mean physical. Sitting by the fire, staring at the flames, you feel the strange pull of community. Fire is magnetic. People gather to it instinctively, like moths to light. It doesn't just warm your body, it warms your bonds. Around this fire, stories are told, arguments are settled, songs are sung.
It's a social technology long before smartphones.
And the fire never leaves your attention for long, because if it dies, you start over, and starting over isn't easy. You remember a fact you once heard: carrying fire was just as common as starting it. People transported glowing embers in bundles of bark or hollowed-out horns, smoldering gently, to keep a spark alive during migrations. Matches didn't exist. Lighters didn't exist. If you lost your fire, you could lose your life. You look at your camp's small blaze and imagine clutching a smoking stick, walking miles just to make sure it doesn't fade. Suddenly, feeding a few twigs into it every morning feels like a small price to pay. Breakfast ends the way all meals end here, quickly. Bowls are licked clean, fingers scraped against the sides, nothing wasted.
They kick those nozzles into the fire, watching them crackle with fascination.
The adults lean back, already eyeing the day's tasks. The hunters check their spears, running hands over stone tips, murmuring about where the herds might roam. Foragers discuss which berry patches are ripe. And you? You rub your hands together, ash smudging into your skin, already wondering how you'll keep up. As the fire settles into a steady burn, you notice smoke spiraling upward, curling into the sky. It leaves black smudges on the hides overhead, staining them forever. Your hair smells of it, your skin clings to it, your lungs taste of it. You'll never really get it out. Smoke is the perfume of prehistory. Love it or hate it, it marks you as alive. There's one more fringe superstition you overhear as you scrape the last of your porridge. An elder warns a child not to stare too long into the flames. The fire spirits don't like to be watched, they mutter. They might steal your dreams. The child looks terrified for a heartbeat, then giggles nervously, sneaking glances back at the blaze anyway. Historians still argue whether fire rituals were strictly practical or deeply spiritual, but here, in this moment, you feel both truths overlapping. When breakfast is done, the camp begins to scatter again, each person slipping into their role. But the fire remains, its crackle steady, its glow constant. You glance back one last time, the smoke weaving into the sky, and realize you'll return to it again and again. Every meal, every story, every pause in the day, always back to the flames. Because without it, you'd be nothing more than another creature scratching at the dirt for survival. With it, you are human. The fire still hums behind you, but the morning doesn't linger forever. Once bellies are filled and ash is rubbed from hands onto thighs, the rhythm of the camp shifts.
It's time for tooling and trade, the quieter, slower heartbeat that keeps the tribe's survival running as surely as the hunt. You wander to where a few men and women squat in the dirt, stones laid out before them like jewels. Except they aren't shiny diamonds. They're flint nodules, chunks of obsidian, shards of bone, antler, and pieces of shell. A modern person might see a pile of trash, but here, this is wealth. One figure picks up a hunk of flint, positions it against an antler, and strikes with another stone. The sound is sharp, like glass snapping. A flake breaks free, thin and curved, its edge so sharp it could slice skin with barely a whisper. You lean closer, mesmerized by the shower of sparks and the way each strike feels intentional, practiced. You realize this is art as much as utility. Controlled flaking of stone, knapping, was one of the earliest technologies humans mastered. Archaeologists date it back more than 2 million years. That's older than language as we know it, older than this little breakfast routine. And still, even now, you can see the concentration furrowing brows, the care taken with each strike. Beside them, someone holds up a finished blade proudly. It's small, triangular, gleaming in the sun. Perfect for cutting hides, carving wood, or maybe piercing an animal's hide. You marvel at how something so fragile-looking can be life-saving. In modern terms, it's like admiring a brand-new phone, except this one doesn't run out of battery and doesn't need a charger.
It just works as long as you respect it.
Here's your mainstream historical fact. Evidence of long-distance trade networks goes back tens of thousands of years. Obsidian found in prehistoric sites often originated hundreds of miles away, proving that people didn't just survive in isolation, they reached out, exchanged, and connected. Trade wasn't always shiny treasures either. Sometimes it was stone for shells, dried meat for pigments, hides for tools. To you it looks like a flea market where the only currency is usefulness. You squat down next to a young woman weaving beads into a necklace. The beads are made of pierced shells, tiny bones, and even bits of polished stone. Decorative, yes, but not frivolous. They signal identity, skill, maybe even status. One of the quirky tidbits about these early trades: some shells used as beads in Europe have been traced back to the Mediterranean coast, hundreds of miles away. That means people weren't just swapping goods, they were swapping stories, ideas, maybe even jokes. Imagine trekking across mountains just to hand someone a shiny bead. It sounds absurd, but humans have always loved showing off.
Pick up a bead, rolling it between your fingers. Smooth, cool, light.
It feels oddly modern, like something you'd find in a market stall today. For a second, the thousands of years between then and now collapse and you realize humans have always wanted to decorate themselves, to stand out, to belong. Instagram didn't invent vanity. It just digitized it.
Not far away, a man is battering over a spearhead.
His own spearhead has dulled, chipped from repeated use. Another hunter has one sharper, newer. They squat in the dirt, placing objects between them, a bundle of dried meat, a few beads, and finally, the prized spearhead. The exchange is wordless, or nearly so. A grunt, a nod, an outstretched hand.
No coin, no ink, no contrast.
Just trust, or maybe grudging necessity. You sense this isn't just a trade of goods. It's a trade of respect, of survival partnership. Historians still argue whether prehistoric trade was formalized through ritual or casual through daily life. Watching this, you'd lean toward both. There's weight in the silence, a sense of performance, even though no one claps when it's done. They simply stand, nod, and walk away, new tools in hand.
You sit back, chewing on a strip of dried root, and watch the quiet choreography unfold.
A group sharpens fishing hooks made of bone, scraping them against stone until they curve like tiny crescents. Another works at weaving nets from twisted plant fibers, looping each knot with practiced fingers. The nets are rough, uneven, but sturdy.
Strong enough, hopefully, to hold wriggling fish without splitting apart.
Your stomach growls at the thought of fish. Someone jokes, half serious, that the fish don't respect nets anymore. The group laughs, shoulders shaking, the sound echoing briefly through the trees. Humor is as necessary here as tools. Without it, the grind of survival would feel too heavy. You catch yourself smiling, soot streaked across your face, and wonder, do jokes survive longer than tools?
Maybe not physically, but the laughter they spark lingers in memory like smoke.
One of the elders begins telling a story as they work, half to entertain, half to teach. It's about a time long ago when someone tried to nap flint without offering a thank you to the stone. The stone bit back, slicing the hand so deeply that the scar remained for life. It's a myth, sure, but it's also practical advice. Don't disrespect sharp tools or they'll punish you.
A safety lecture wrapped in superstition.
You glance at your own fingers, raw from gripping rough stone, and think maybe saying thank you isn't such a bad idea.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Nearby, a younger boy squats awkwardly, trying to imitate the napping motion. His strikes are clumsy, flakes flying in the wrong direction. An adult leans over, correcting his grip, demonstrating again. The boy fumbles, then finally chips off a clean flake. His grin is wide, toothy, triumphant. Everyone nods approval. This isn't school as you know it. There are no chalkboards, no tests. Just watch, try, fail, repeat, and every success is rewarded with quiet pride. Your back aches from squatting, so you stretch and wander toward the camp's edge. There, you see a pile of discarded flakes, the trash heap of tool-making. Yet even this waste has purpose. Smaller shards are gathered to cut plants, scrape hides, or even serve as emergency knives.
Nothing here goes unsaid.
In a world without factories, waste is a luxury no one can afford. The sun creeps higher, baking the clearing in bright light. Sweat trickles down your back, mingling with the ever-present smell of smoke and stone dust.
You wonder if your lungs will ever feel clean again. Probably not. But the rhythm of life here doesn't allow for complaints. You breathe, you walk, you trade, you survive.
And as you watch another bead strung onto another necklace, as you hear another clink of stone against antler, as you see another hand exchange meat for tools, you realize this is the marketplace of prehistory. No stalls, no signs, no shouted prices. Just need and offer.
Survival and trust. And in that trust, humanity begins to bloom.
The sun climbs higher, burning away the mist. The clearing where the camp huddles feels more alive now, children darting between shelters, elders muttering in the shade, and the smell of stone dust and cooked porridge still clinging to the air. But the hunters are restless. Breakfast fills the belly only for a while, and soon eyes turn towards the forest and plains beyond. It's time for hunting preparations.
You felt the tension in the camp shift like a string being drowned out.
Spears are lifted, inspected, their tips sharpened against rocks until edges gleam with a dangerous promise. Each shaft is smoothed with practiced care, rubbed with fat or resin to strengthen the wood. Arrows are checked for cracks, sinew bindings tightened with teeth and fingers. The hunters speak little as they work.
This is serious business.
Every strike of stone against shaft, every tug of sinew is a reminder that one mistake could mean hunger or worse. The mainstream historical fact surfaces here. Cooperative hunting was one of the cornerstones of prehistoric survival. Anthropologists have found evidence of mammoth kill sites where dozens of hunters worked together to drive enormous animals into traps or pits. It wasn't just individual bravery, it was teamwork, coordination, and planning. You glance around at the hunters now, watching them exchange glances, nods, even small hand gestures. It's their version of strategy, quiet but effective. One of them begins smearing dark mud across his face and arms. Camouflage, primitive but clever. Another follows suit, streaking his body until he blends into the forest shadows. You look under your bright, it looks a little like a Messi's body gone wrong. Still, the intent is deadly serious.
In the dense undergrowth, a pale body would stand out. With mud, sweat, and dirt, you become part of the earth itself.
And here's the quirky tidbit you overhear as you watch. Some hunters imitate animal calls before heading out, not just to lure prey but to ask permission from the animals. It sounds half practical, half spiritual. You hear one young hunter grunt low, imitating a wild boar, while another whistles like a bird. It's not exactly convincing, more like bad karaoke, but the others nod approvingly. Whether it truly attracts animals or just boosts confidence, who can say? Still, you can't help but stifle a laugh. If you tried this in the modern world, you'd be the weird neighbor making squirrel noises in your yard. Preparation also means practice. The hunters set up a target, a log propped against a tree, scarred from countless spear throws. One by one, they step forward, heft their weapons, and launch. The spears arc, heavy and slow, before thudding into wood with dull, satisfying cracks. A cheer rises when one sticks solidly. Groans follow when another clatters harmlessly to the dirt. You step up hesitantly, feeling the weight of a spear in your palm. It's heavier than you imagined, unbalanced, almost awkward. You grip tight, step forward, and fling. The spear wobbles like a drunken bird before nosediving into the ground a few feet short.
The hunters chuckle, not cruelly, just amused. Everyone remembers their first clumsy throws.
The elder in charge gives you a look, half stern, half kind. He lifts your spear, adjusts your stance, shifts your grip. His eyes flick toward the target, then back to you. The message is clear: try again. This time you plant your feet, swing with more control, and let go.
The spear side straighter, grazing the edge of the log, a ripple of approval passes struck the hunters.
You grin, chest heaving. Progress, however small, earns respect here. Historians still argue whether prehistoric people trained deliberately for hunts or simply learned on the job. From what you're experiencing, it's a mix of both. Practice sharpens skill, but real hunts carry the lessons no log ever could. Preparation extends beyond weapons. Hunters stretch hides across their shoulders for warmth, tie strips of bark around calves to shield from thorns, and tuck small pouches of herbs or fat at their belts. Some carry tiny charms, beads, bones, carved stones, tokens of luck. You notice one man press a small polished pebble to his forehead before tucking it back into his pouch. A ritual?
A superstition.
Probably both.
The line between magic and practicality is thin here. And then comes the silence.
Once preparations are finished, voices fade. No more jokes, no more laughter. The hunters sit or squat, gazes distant, bodies still. They are conserving energy, focusing, waiting for the signal to move. You feel it too, that hush before action, where every heartbeat is a drum.
A child wanders too close, giggling, and is gently shooed away. Even they know not to break the stillness for long. The fire crackles softly in the background, smoke drifting lazily into the sky.
The rest of the camp watches from a distance, eyes full of both pride and worry. Each hunt is a gamble. Each departure carries the unspoken fear: who will return? As you clutch your spear, sweets licking your palms, you catch yourself imagining what lies at.
Thick forests buzzing with insects. Planks shimmering under the noon sun.
Animals out there, fast, strong, wary. Some could feed your clan for days. Some could turn you into their meal instead.
You lick dry lips, nervous prickling.
You probably won't survive this, your modern brain whispers. But then again, survival has always belonged to the bold, the stubborn, and the prepared.
The leader finally rises, shoulders square, spear resting against his body. He makes a sharp gesture, simple but commanding.
The hunters stand in unison, weapons in hand, eyes fixed ahead.
It's time. You fall in line, heart pounding, feeling the weight of both spear and expectation.
Before stepping out of camp, though, one last ritual takes place. A small firebrand is lifted, embers glowing bright. Each hunter touches their spear to the smoke, letting it curl briefly over the stone tip. It's symbolic, a blessing of fire, or perhaps a way of burning fear away. One elder mutters something low, a half prayer, half poem, words you can't quite catch.
You only catch the cadence, the rise and fall like a lullaby. The hunters nod solemnly.
You do too, though mostly because everyone else does. And then without another word you set off.
Feet crunch on dirt, branches snap under pressure, and the clearing falls behind. The camp shrinks, swallowed by trees. All that remains is the sound of breathing, the rustle of hides, and the steady weight of spears. The hunt hasn't even begun, but already you feel the shift. Preparation is its own kind of battle. The tools are ready, the bodies primed, the minds sharpened.
Soon you'll step into the living theater of predator and prey. And in that theater the stakes are written in hunger and blood. The forest closes around you, thick with shade and mystery.
Sunlight filters down in bracken shafts, catching the floating dust motes and the teeny gnats that hover like sparks. The group walks single file, feet pressing softly into damp earth. You try to step lightly, but your modern sneakers would squeak. Good thing you're barefoot like the rest, toes gripping the soil, every step a lesson in silence. You hear the faint calls of birds above, and the occasional snap of a twig that makes you wince.
This is the small hand, the warm-up for survival.
It's not mammoth or bison today, no enormous beasts with tusks or horns that could flatten you in seconds. Today is about smaller prey, animals quick enough to feed the group but manageable enough not to demand weeks of preparation. Rabbits, deer, maybe even a wild pig. The sort of catch that makes the difference between gnawing hunger and the satisfaction of a shared meal. The hunters spread out slightly, forming a crescent through the undergrowth. You follow the leader's signal, 2 fingers tapped against the arm, meaning slow and careful.
Hands tichten around spears. The forest suddenly feels like it's holding its breath.
A mainstream fact slips into your head. Anthropologists agree that cooperative hunting, working as a team to corner and exhaust prey, was one of the major leaps in human survival strategy. Unlike big cats who chase alone, humans learned to coordinate. Some drive the animal, others wait in ambush. Together, even without claws or fangs, they could topple giants.
Here, though, the coordination is subtler.
A snap of fingers, a flick of the wrist, the tilt of a shin.
These are the silent signals of the hunt, language without words. You mimic clumsily, though your timing is off. One hunter smirks, then presses a finger to his lips. Shh. You blush, realizing you're the weak link in a deadly game of charades. Through a break in the brush, you catch sight of movement, a deer, small and brown, grazing calmly among ferns. Its ears twitch, tail flicking at flies. You freeze, lungs burning as if even your breathing might give you away. The hunters sink low, bodies almost melting into the granary. Spears tilt forward, eyes narrow. This is it, the moment. But before anyone moves, one hunter lets out a strange sound, like a sharp cough followed by a low grunt. It's an imitation of a predator, meant to spook the deer toward the waiting arms of the ambush. Here's the quirky tidbit you've been waiting for. Some prehistoric hunters tried to mimic not only prey animals, but also predators, hoping to frighten their quarry into running the right direction. Imagine someone growling badly at a deer. It's either clever strategy or comedy gold. You can't decide which.
Say das ears pack. Its head jerks up. For a frozen heartbeat, everything is still. Then, as if lightning cracked, the animal bolts.
It crashed through the underbrush, hooves pounding. Hunters spring into action. One leaps left, another dashes forward, and you stumble after them, heart hammering, vision blurring from the sheer speed. Branches whip your arms, hoods snag your toes, and your spear falls like a log, viking you down. Yet adrenaline pushes you. The group is shouting now, low guttural bursts meant to funnel the deer, each sound a piece of the larger plan. The animal zigzags desperately, but the crescent closes. One hunter hurls his spear, it whistles, then thuds into a tree trunk inches from the deer's flank. A near miss.
You want to try, your fingers itching, but doubt gnaws. If you throw and miss, the weapon is gone and you'll be useless. If you hold back, you re-dead weight. So you grip tighter, raining until your lungs burn. The deer stumbles slightly, slowed by tangled roots. That's the chance. The leader lets fly his spear, cutting the air in a clean, practiced arc. It strikes through into the animal's side. A cry bursts from the deer, high and pitiful, before it crashes to the ground. The forest erupts in movement. Hunters swarm, closing in, weapons raised in case the animal thrashes. But the strike was good, it lies still within moments. Silas returns heavy and reverent. For a heartbeat you hear nothing but your own gasps and the distant let's call of a crow. Historians still argue whether hunts like this were more ritual or purely practical. Was each kill a sacred act full of meaning and ceremony, or was it simply necessity, sharpened by hunger? Watching the hunters now, you sense it's both. They don't cheer, don't clap each other on the back. Instead, they stand in quiet respect, one even placing his palm briefly against the deer's flank. A small moment of recognition, perhaps gratitude. And then, like the flip of a switch, the practical side returns. Flint knives appear, sinew cords are pulled out, and the work begins. The deer is skinned with quick efficiency, the hide stripped carefully for future use, meat divided into portable portions. Blood stains hands and arms, but no part is wasted. Even bones will later be cracked for marrow or shaped into tools. You help awkwardly, trying not to gag at the metallic tang in the air. A hunter smears a streak of blood across his forehead. He grins at you as if inviting you to join. You shake your head quickly, muttering something about allergies. Another hunter chuckles softly, amused at your squeamishness. 3 jokes in 1,000 words, you're right on track. When the work is done, the group rests briefly, squatting in the shade with their hard-won prize. Someone gnaws on a strip of raw fat, savoring the quick calories. You politely decline when offered. Your stomach is brave, but not that brave. The leader signals again, a hand raised, and the hunters prepare to head back. The small hunt is complete, but the day is far from over. You feel the weight of fatigue already creeping into your limbs, yet pride swells in your chest. You were part of this. Not competent, not graceful, but present. And presence in this world means survival. As you trudge back through the forest, spear sticky in your grip, you reflect on the wisdom of it all. Preparation, silence, chess, streck, rispest. A cycle repeated for thousands of years, passed down through hands and whispers until it becomes instinct. The modern world might have grocery stores and takeout apps, but here, every meal is earned with sweat, strategy, and courage. And maybe, just maybe, with a badly timed predator impression. The forest path bends back toward camp, and the weight of the deer is shared among the hunters. Strips of meat dangle from cords, still fresh and glistening, while the hide is folded over one shoulder. The air is thick with the smell of iron and musk, carried on the midday breeze.
By the time you return, children are already rushing forward, eyes wide with excitement. Their cheers break the hunter's solemn mood, turning it into something lighter, something triumphant. But the day isn't finished. Not everyone hunts. Many remain behind, and their labor is just as crucial. The foragers gather in a cluster near the fire, baskets woven from reeds and bark set beside them. These baskets are filled with roots, berries, seeds, and mushrooms collected from the edges of the forest. Some items are safe and nourishing, others require testing, careful cooking, or even prayer before anyone dares to chew. You crouch near one of the older women as she empties her basket. She lays out her finds carefully, tubers dusted with soil, clusters of red berries, leaves with serrated edges. She sniffs each one, presses it between her fingers, sometimes even touches it lightly to her tongue. She knows from decades of practice what will sustain and what might kill. Here's your mainstream historical fact. Archaeologists have discovered traces of charred seeds, nuts, and tubers in prehistoric huts, proving that plant gathering was as vital as hunting. Meat may steal the spotlight in heroic tales, but plants kept people alive far more consistently. You imagine long nights where firelight flickered over bowls of roasted roots, unremarkable but essential. And then comes a quirky tidbit whispered among the gatherers. One plant, with delicate white flowers and a bitter root, is said to have supernatural properties. Chew it, they claim, and you'll dream of the ancestors guiding you to hidden food. It's half superstition, half hopeful placebo. You smile at the idea, nature as both pantry and oracle. Modern herbal teas have nothing on this. Children hover close, curious but cautious. One girl picks up a mushroom, eyes gleaming with mischief. A sharp scolding follows. Even the young know that one wrong bite could end in disaster. But curiosity is strong. You remember the theory that children's play, tasting, touching, testing, was how knowledge passed forward. Mistakes were dangerous, but they also created memory. Ontech the rate ons an eldermutters flicking the mushroom away. The lesson sticks. The women begin processing the finds. Roots are tossed into the fire's edge to roast, skins blackening, flesh softening. Berries are mashed with stones, juice staining fingers deep purple. Seeds are ground into meal, coarse and nutty. The air fills with a patchwork of scents, sweet, bitter, earthy, smoky. You catch yourself salivating. While they work, stories bubble up, soft conversations that serve as both entertainment and instruction. One woman recalls how her mother once found honey hidden in a tree, only to be chased half a mile by furious bees. The others laugh, though they nod knowingly. Honey is precious, but bees don't share willingly. Another recalls a man who insisted a certain leaf could cure stomachaches until it nearly killed him. The tale has become both cautionary and comedic, retold with exaggeration each time. Historians still argue whether division of labor in early societies was strict or flexible. Did women always forage and men always hunt? Or was it situational, shaped by need rather than gender? Watching this camp, it feels like everyone contributes where they can. Some men sit cross-legged weaving baskets. Some women carry sharp-edged flints, ready to cut meat.
Children fetch water. Elders whisper at this. The lines blur, though habits lean one way or another.
You join the foragers as they test the new find, small seeds gathered from tall grasses. They're tossed on hot stones, popping and crackling until they release a warm, nutty aroma. Someone grinds them with a rock, mixing the powder with water into a mush. It tastes bland but fills the stomach. You chew dutifully, nodding politely, as if it's the best oatmeal you've ever had. Truthfully, it's more texture than flavor. Still, calories are calories. Another basket holds something stranger, bright red berries glistening like jewels. These aren't for eating, they're for dye.
One woman smooths the juice along her arm, leaving a vivid streak.
She grins, pleased with the color, then offers some to a child who draws lines across her face. Decoration, ritual, or play? Probably all three. In this world, utility and art share the same basket. You notice that not all the gathered plants are food. Some are medicine, or at least attempts at medicine. A bundle of leaves is crushed into a poultice for insect bites. A handful of bark is boiled in water, producing a bitter tea for fevers. You sip cautiously when offered, trying not to grimace at the taste. It's like drinking liquid tree.
The others watch you with sly smiles, newcomer initiation perhaps.
As the afternoon wanes, the group gathers to sort the haul. The deer meat from the hunters joins the plant bounty from the gatherers. A picture of balance emerges, meat for protein, plants for fiber and vitamins, both essential. You realize that without the quiet, steady work of foragers, even the most heroic hunt would fall short. One woman holds up a cluster of tiny purple berries. She tells a story about how the spirits once painted the sky with juice from these fruits, spilling color across the clouds. The children giggle, glancing up to see if any streaks remain. The berries taste tart and sharp, but now they carry magic too. That's the charm of oral tradition. Every bite, every leaf can carry a story.
And here you are, chewing alongside them, becoming part of that rhythm. You imagine yourself retelling these same tales in the future. Once I ate a berry that tasted like lightning, and it came from a plant the elders swore was sacred. Who knows, maybe centuries from now, someone will unearth seeds from this very patch of ground, wondering what meals or myths they inspired.
The sun begins its lazy descent, shadows stretching long across the clearing. The hunters lounge nearby, satisfied from their work, while the foragers continue their patient sorting. Together, the camp hums with quiet productivity. No moment is wasted, every hand finds a task.
You reap a berry juice from your fingers and smile.
It strikes you then that survival isn't just about dramatic spear throws or daring hunts. It's in the patient hands that recognize safe routes, in the laughter that turns mistakes into memory, in the whispered myths that layer magic onto the mundane. Foraging may look humble, but it is the steady heartbeat of life. And as you settle by the fire with a mouthful of roasted tuba, soft, sweet, smoky, you realize something else. This humble kitchen in the dirt is every bit as important as the battlefield of the hunt.
One fills your stomach, the other fills your imagination.
Both keep the tribe alive.
The sun creeps past its peak and the air begins to shimmer with heat. The morning's energy, hunts and foraging, chatter and work starts to quiet. It is the hour when even the most restless creature seeks shade. The camp eases into a rhythm of rest and you find yourself dragged into it like a leaf caught on a slow-moving current. Children who had been darting around now flop on the ground, their heads pillowed on one another's arms. A few elders recline against posts of wood, legs stretched out, eyes closed but ears still sharp. Hunters sit in small groups, spears laid beside them, gnawing absently on strips of dried meat while talking in low murmurs.
The great fire burns lower, embers glowing faintly, its smoke spiraling straight upward in the stillness. You choose a spot beneath a tree where the roots coil out of the earth like resting snakes. The shade is cool, the soil damp, and a light breeze brushes your skin. For a moment, you let yourself imagine you've stumbled into some ancient cafe. No lattes here, only roasted tubers and gossip, but the same sense of pause in the day's labor. A mainstream historical fact floats into your mind. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer groups have noted that their work hours were often shorter than those of early agricultural societies. Without fields to tend or fixed schedules to follow, these groups could alternate bursts of intense effort with long stretches of rest. Survival wasn't a constant grind, it was a rhythm of exertion and release.
That rhythm now hums around you like a lullaby. The gossip begins quietly at first. Two women nearby whisper about a young hunter who missed his throw this morning. Their tones are teasing, not cruel, but you catch the sly smiles as they mimic his awkward stance. Across the camp, another group laughs softly as someone imitates your own clumsy spear attempt, arms flailing like a bird that forgot how to fly.
You groan, burying your face in your hands, but you laugh too. Better to be part of the joke than outside it.
Amid the laughter, a curious tidbit emerges. One elder insists that if you sleep with your head pointing north, you'll dream of animals that will come to the hunt tomorrow. Another shakes her head, muttering that it only works if you smear mud behind your ears first. You can't tell if they're serious, half-believing, or just spinning tales to amuse the children.
Either way, it's a reminder that rest and superstition share space here. You stretch out, trying to mimic the tribe's ease. The ground is hard, but the dappled light feels almost tender. A child curls up beside you, clutching a carved wooden toy shaped like a bird. She strokes its wings absent-mindedly before drifting off to sleep. Watching her, you realize toys aren't frivolous, they're practice, small rehearsals for adult tasks. That little bird might one day be replaced with a real bow, her game of chase with a true hunt. Historians still argue whether division of labor in societies like this was rigidly assigned or fluid. Were men always hunters, women always gatherers, elders always advisors? Or did roles shift with need and circumstance? From what you may sehen, tiers overlap, a man weaving baskets, a woman sharpening flint, children carrying water. The gossip itself hints at this flexibility. Mocking a hunter for missing his throw shows that skill, not gender, earns respect. Your eyes drift closer. You catch fragments of sound, the hiss of wind through tall grass, the faint clack of stones as someone chips a tool, the hum of an insect hovering too close. The rhythm of the camp is neither silent nor chaotic. It's like white noise, a backdrop that makes your pulse slow. And yet, even in rest, the camp never fully lets go of caution. A few hunters linger at the edges, scanning the horizon. The forest doesn't nap. Predators move when they wish, and an unwatched camp is a vulnerable one. You notice the guard's stillness, their spears angled just so, eyes flicking toward every bird call. It's a reminder. Here, relaxation is always measured, never absolute. You Stirwenlaukata breaks out again. This time it's from a group of youths, reenacting the morning's chase with exaggerated drama. One pretends to be the deer, bounding clumsily around the fire pit, while another hurls a stick that lands pitifully short. The crowd roars. You can't help chuckling. It's essentially prehistoric improv comedy. Entertainment, instruction, and bonding all wrapped into one performance. As the heat lingers, food is shared again. Someone passes you a piece of roasted root, still warm from the coals. Its taste is smoky and sweet, comforting in its simplicity. You chew slowly, savoring it as if it were the finest dessert. Hunger sharpens appreciation, but so does the knowledge that every bite represents hours of work and risk. Nearby, a young man is carving bone into a tool. He works steadily, scraping with stone, shaping the edge into something sharp and purposeful. His friend lounges beside him, telling a story of how a spirit once turned a lazy hunter into a rock for refusing to share his food. The others snicker, nodding as if the lesson is obvious: don't be greedy or risk becoming part of the landscape. You find yourself glancing at the stones around camp with new suspicion. Another woman leans against a log, braiding grass into a cord. She hums softly, a tune without words, steady and soothing. A few children mimic her, their small fingers fumbling with knots. The cord will become part of a basket, maybe even a sling for carrying food. Here, leisure and labor are woven together. Every idle moment still tries into survival. Your body loosens, your eyelids heavy.
You think about how in the modern world people chase constant busyness, emails, schedules, alarms. Here, stillness is built into the day, valued as much as motion. It's not laziness but strategy, a way to endure. The tribe has known for generations what modern science only recently confirmed: rest is not wasted time. It's recovery, essential as breath.
The shadows stretch longer now. A breeze stirs, cooler than before, and people begin shifting from rest back into tasks. The gossip fades, replaced by the scrape of stone and the crackle of rekindled fire. Children rub sleep from their eyes, elders rise slowly, hunters test their spears once more.
The pause is over. The cycle continues.
You take one last look at the camp in its softened state, the laughter, the murmured stories, the simple grace of shared shade. And you realize this: survival isn't only about the drama of hunts and harvests. It's also in these quiet hours where bonds tighten, knowledge passes, and spirits reset. Midday rest is as vital as the chase. You stretch, joints popping, and smile faintly. The day isn't done, but you feel steadier now, drawn into the tribe's rhythm. You're no longer just a guest, you're part of the hum, the pulse, the long exhale of survival. The drowsy hum of midday rest fades, replaced by a livelier rhythm. Children stir first, shaking off sleep as if they've been coiled springs waiting to bounce. Their laughter soon spills across the clearing, pulling adults back into motion. The tribe has work to do, but so too do the young, though their tasks are woven with play, and play is often just training in disguise. You watch as a boy no older than 8 picks up a stick, pretending it's a spear. He stabs at invisible prey, shouting triumphantly as he kills a phantom deer. Another child joins him, mimicking his stance. Their feet slide clumsily, their grips loose, but the intent is clear. These games are rehearsals for survival. An older man squats nearby, carving a real spear point from stone. He calls the boys over with a grunt, takes their makeshift weapons, and shows them how to hold properly. His hands are gnarled with age, yet steady, guiding small fingers into place. You can see the children's eyes widen. They've been noticed by someone important. They copy his movements, awkward but eager. A mainstream historical fact flickers in your mind. Anthropologists have long noted that children in hunter-gatherer societies learn by imitation, not lectures. They watch, copy, and slowly absorb skills until they're competent enough to contribute. Childhood is not a separate world of school desks and textbooks. It's apprenticeship woven into daily life.
You kneel with them, and the elder gestures for you to try. You grip the stick, mimicking the stance.
He nods approvingly, though your form earns a chuckle from one of the kids. Too stiff, his eyes seem to say. You loosen your shoulders, wobbling slightly. The elder adjusts your elbows again, patience endless. Even here, you're the child, learning slowly, one correction at a time. Nearby, girls gather with older women, threading beads onto strands of sinew. But beads aren't mere decorations, they teach dexterity, patience, and the rhythm of craft. Fingers fumble at first, then grow steadier. A child drops a bead into the dirt, groans dramatically, then dives after it, earning laughter. The small frustrations are part of the lesson: steady hands, steady mind. Then comes the quirky tidbit. One boy, determined to impress, ties his practice spear to a frog and declares it a hunting partner. The frog croaks indignantly, wriggling away with the stick dragging behind. The children howl with laughter, chasing it across the clearing. Even the stern elder cracks a smile. Practical? No.
Memorable?
Absolutely. That frog just earned its place as the camp's newest mascot.
As the children's games escalate, you notice how adults hover nearby, not smothering, but guiding with glances, gestures, occasional corrections. Responsibility is given in increments. A small child carries water, spilling half, but no one scolds harshly. Instead, an older sibling shows them how to balance better next time. Mistakes aren't punished, they're absorbed into learning. Historians still argue whether roles for children were formalized, apprentice hunter, apprentice gatherer, or whether they simply flowed naturally into whatever tasks were available. What you see suggests fluidity. A boy learning to whittle today might spend tomorrow gathering berries, then chase lizards for fun. Skills build layer by layer until adulthood cements them. You're invited to join a group whittling small sticks into points. The elder hands you a flake of stone, sharp as a razor. The children watch, curious to see how the outsider fares. You press the flake against the stick's edge and scrape. The wood curls away in delicate shavings, though your grip is clumsy. Soon your thumb aches, your wrist protests, but determination keeps you going. A girl beside you works faster, her hands sure. She smirks at your slow progress, and you grin back. Competition is part of learning too. The camp buzzes with this quiet mentorship. Skills are passed without ceremony, just repeated actions, patient corrections, laughter when things go wrong. A toddler waddles by carrying a small clay bowl, merely dropping it before an older child swoops in.
The toddler shrieks happily, note discouraged. Failure here isn't shameful, it's just another round of practice.
The elder carving beside you tells a story as he works, voice low and rhythmic. He recalls his first hunt, how his spear struck only dirt while the others laughed. He thought himself useless until his mother reminded him that even great hunters once missed every throw. Encouraged, he tried again and again until one day his spear found its mark. The story is both confession and encouragement, teaching resilience without preaching. You glance at the children listening, their eyes wide. They're soaking it in, the lesson, the humor, the shared humanity of mistakes. Oral tradition doubles as curriculum. Every story reinforces what actions cannot yet teach. One boy suddenly sprints across camp, stick raised high, shouting, "I'm the mammoth killer." He charges into a group of laughing children who scatter dramatically, falling to the ground in mock defeat. Their play battle grows louder, more chaotic, until an elder claps sharply.
Silence falls.
The lesson is subtle, play is welcome, but respect for the camp's calm must remain. The children nod, chastened but not scolded harshly. Later you join a girl who is practicing weaving a mat. Her fingers stumble over the pattern, creating uneven lines. She sighs in frustration. You try, fumbling even worse, and she bursts into laughter.
You're worse than me, Herr Eissei.
Encouraged, she continues, now more confident because at least she's not the clumsiest in camp. You've accidentally become the motivational example.
The sun lowers slowly, painting long shadows across the ground. Children continue their lessons, some serious, some silly.
A boy sharpens sticks against a stone until sparks fly.
Another mimics bird calls, his high-pitched whistles earning nods of approval. A girl carefully balances a basket on her head, wobbling but determined. Every act, however small, builds toward competence.
You realize something important. Survival here isn't a solo game.
Knowledge isn't hoarded, it's poured constantly into the youngest, drop by drop. Play is not wasted, it's rehearsal. Apprenticeship isn't formal, it's woven into daily rhythm. And through this endless cycle, skills and stories leap across generations like fire passed from torch to torch. As evening whispers near, you see children gather their toys, tools, and treasures. They sit together, munching on roasted roots, eyes tired but proud. They've learned, played, stumbled, and tried again. Tomorrow they'll repeat it, one step closer to becoming hunters, gatherers, leaders. And you too have learned. Your stick spear is rough, your woven mat a disaster, but your place in the circle of practice feels real. In the laughter of children and the patient corrections of elders, you glimpse the timeless truth. Apprenticeship is life itself, and play is the path to mastery. The air cools as shadows lengthen, the heat of the day giving way to a gentler warmth. You notice the tribe shifting again, their rhythms always tied to the sun's arc. The afternoon now leans toward preparation, not frantic, but steady, with an undercurrent of urgency. Stomachs will soon be rumbling, and evening hunger cannot be postponed. You join the bustle as women rise from shaded mats, stretching their arms, then gathering woven baskets. Some head toward the tree line where patches of wild roots and fruits wait. Others check baskets already filled from earlier, sorting what is still good and tossing aside pieces spoiled by insects. Nothing is wasted entirely. Scraps tossed near the edge of camp will be scavenged by birds or small animals, which in turn may later become food themselves. The cycle tightens like an invisible knot. Men too prepare for their share of the evening meal. Spears are checked, not for hunting, but for cooking. Long, straight branches are sharpened, ready to skewer meat or fish. Firewood is stacked into neat piles near the central hearth. The flicker of preparation brings a sense of anticipation. You can almost taste the smoke, hear the crackle, feel the warmth. One mainstream historical fact slips into your thoughts. Fire transformed not just food but human biology. Cooking made nutrients easier to digest, freeing energy for bigger brains. Some anthropologists even argue that without fire, we wouldn't be sitting here, listening to stomachs growl as dusk approaches. You glance at the tribe, tending their hearth as reverently as a shrine, and you know they feel this truth without needing to phrase it scientifically. A group of children scampers in, proud of their contribution, a bundle of mushrooms, wild but edible. They hold them aloft as though carrying trophies, grins wide. An elder inspects them carefully, nodding approval. The tribe cheers lightly. Every contribution, however small, deserves recognition. Food here isn't just sustenance, it's status, proof of usefulness, and joy shared. A quirky tidbit surfaces when one man pulls out what looks like a dried termite mound. You wrinkle your nose, but he cracks it open, revealing crunchy insects inside. They pop into his mouth like peanuts, and he offers you some. You hesitate, but he grins, insisting. You crunch down, nutty, earthy, surprisingly not awful. He laughs at your shocked face. Historians still argue whether these were snacks or staples, you think, but your mouth is too full of bug legs to contribute. Around the fire pit, work takes on a ceremonial air. Two women kneel, rubbing a wooden spindle into a fireboard, coaxing smoke. Sparks catch, embers glow, and soon flames lick upward.
Everione gravitas tovat the light.
Fire is not just warmth and cooking, it is the heartbeat of the evening.
You feel yourself drawn to like a mote-orbiting flame.
Roots are peeled and roasted directly in the coals, skin blackened until insides are sweet and soft.
Fish, skewered on green sticks, sizzle as fat drips into the fire.
Meat from the day's catch is sliced, rubbed with wild herbs, then placed over the heat. The air fills with layers of scent, smoky, savory, earthy, a perfume of survival. An elder crouches with you, gesturing toward the skewers. He mimes turning them slowly, evenly, showing how food must be watched, tended, never rushed. Burned food wastes effort, and in a world where effort equals survival, waste cannot be afforded. You try turning a skewer, awkward at first, until he nods in approval. You grin, secretly proud of passing this test of patience. The camp grows louder as appetites sharpen. Children jostle near the fire, wide-eyed at the sizzling feast. Adults laugh, tease, and occasionally swat curious hands reaching too soon. You're reminded of modern family gatherings, arguments over who gets the first piece, jokes about someone always burning the meat.
Humor, it seems, hasn't changed much across millennia.
Historians still argue whether prehistoric meals were egalitarian or hierarchical. Did hunters eat first?
Did elders claim the best cuts? Tonight, you see a compromise. Elders receive first portions, but children too are quickly fed, their small bodies prioritized. Hunters share their catches proudly, but not selfishly. Food passes hand to hand, a chain of generosity. As the first bites are taken, the tribe hums with satisfaction. A boy chews roasted tuba, face smudged with ash, while his sister slurps fish with noisy delight. You taste too, smoky, earthy, far richer than any packaged snack. Each bite feels earned, drawn from the earth, transformed by fire, shared among companions.
One woman pulls from her pouch a handful of crushed seeds mixed with honey.
She smears the paste onto roasted roots, creating a primitive sweet.
Children squeal in daylicht, sticky hands waving.
You try a bit, surprised at the richness. This simple treat, you realize, is as precious as any dessert in modern times. Sweetness is rare, a luxury from bees and blossoms. The quirky tidbit returns when a man places a hot stone into a skin bag filled with water and herbs. Steam rises, creating a crude soup. You marvel at the ingenuity, cooking with rocks rather than metal pots. The tribe slurps the broth with gusto, steam fogging their faces. You sip too, earthy and strong, warmed from the inside.
Stars begin to circle as bellies fill.
One elder describes a great hunt, miming the chase and the kill, voice booming. Children gasp at every dramatic twist. Another recounts a tale of famine when insects and roots kept the tribe alive. Even hardship becomes legend when told by firelight. You're drawn to the rhythm of voices, the sway of gestures, the way every story seems both entertainment and lesson. Meals are not only about food, they are about memory, identity, continuity. You're reminded that without writing, firelight was the classroom, the archive, the theater. As the meal winds down, laughter lingers. Bones are tossed aside, skins stacked for later use. Ashes are stirred, embers banked carefully so the fire won't die overnight. Slowly, the urgency of hunger fades into the calm of fullness. You lean back, gazing at faces glowing in firelight. You've shared their food, their laughter, their lessons. Tonight's meal was more than roasted roots and sizzling fish. It was communion with the past, a reminder that every bite ties you to the earth and to each other. The meal has quieted the chaos of the camp. Bellies are full, laughter fades into soft murmurs, and the fire now crackles with a gentler rhythm. You lean back against the log, watching sparks drift upward like fireflies trying to rejoin the stars. This is not the end of the day, though. It is the beginning of something else. The evening is the time of stories, of music, of the tribe weaving memory into sound. The children settle first, their sticky hands wiped clean with tufts of grass, their eyes wide and expectant. Adults circle around them, some idly gnawing the last scraps of roasted meat, others sipping the broth left from the hot stone soup. The fire is at the center, as always, but the people themselves have become the true hearth, the beating heart of the gathering. You notice one elder, the same who had earlier shown the children how to throw spears. Now he straightens his posture, clears his throat, and begins. His voice is gravelly but steady, carrying across the hush of the group. He speaks in a language you don't know, yet the cadence, the gestures, the rise and fall of sound wrap you in meaning. Anthropologists tell us, here comes the mainstream historical fact, that oral storytelling was the glue of early societies. Without writing, memory had to be preserved in rhythm, rhyme, gesture, and repetition. Tales weren't just entertainment, they were instruction manuals for survival, maps of the land, genealogies of the tribe, and warnings encoded in drama.
You can feel that truth vibrating in the elders' words now.
The children lean forward, hanging on every syllable. His hands sweep wide, then narrow to a point. He hunches, mimicking an animal, growls deep in his throat, then leaps upright, spear in hand. The audience gasps and laughs. You laugh too, though you don't quite know what happened. Your body responds to the rhythm, the performance, the spell of shared imagination.
Then comes the quirky tidbit. Another storyteller interrupts the elder with a playful shout, holding up a gourd as if it were a prop. She pretends it's a drum, slapping it with exaggerated seriousness, turning the tale into comedy. The crowd erupts in laughter, the elder groaning dramatically, waving her off as though she's ruined his masterpiece. You realize something delightful. Even in these solemn traditions, humor sneaks in. Storytelling is not rigid, it's alive, messy, a constant play between performer and audience. The fire pops, sparks fly, and soon the story blends into song. A deep, droning chant begins, low at first, then rising as others join. No instruments beyond clapping, stamping, and the occasional thud of that playful gourd drum. The sound is primal yet strangely familiar. You feel it in your chest more than your ears, the way bass vibrates at a concert. Historians still argue whether music in prehistoric tribes had sacred functions, practical ones, or was simply an outlet for joy. Was it a way to synchronize movement during work, or a ritual to appease unseen forces, or just a chance to let loose after a hard day? Tonight, you suspect it's all of those at once.
The Shankaruslayas, discipline, ecstasy, comfort. You're drawn into their hate almost against your will.
Your hands clap when there's dew, your feet tap in time. A woman notices and pulls you closer, urging you to follow. She shows you a simple hand pattern: slap thighs, clap, snap fingers. You copy clumsily, fumbling the snap, which makes the children giggle. You grin sheepishly, try again, and finally get it. Now you're part of the music, your heartbeat syncing with theirs.
The song shifts into a dance.
People rise, circling the fire, stamping feet into the dirt, rising hands skyward. Shadows leap across the clearing as flames flare.
The air thickens with heat, dust, and human energy.
You stand too, swept along, though your moves resemble an awkward shuffle more than graceful ritual. A child mirrors your clumsiness, exaggerating it until everyone laughs. You've become part of the comedy act without trying. Another song rises, higher, faster, urgent. The tribe chants in call and response, voices overlapping in waves. Someone whistles, another ululates, a third adds percussive clicks of the tongue. It's chaotic but harmonious, each sound folding into the next. You realize no one is the conductor, the group itself is the orchestra.
Entain Silence. It falls all at once, broken only by the hiss of the fire.
Everyone sits, breathing heavily, sweat shining on foreheads. The release is palpable, like the deep calm after a storm.
You feel it too, your body loose, your mind strangely clear. Music has wrung you out, leaving peace in its place. The elder begins another tale, says one quita. He speaks of the stars overhead, pointing upward with his gnarled finger. You tilt your head back and gasp.
The night sky here is impossibly dense, more stars than you've ever seen, a glittering river across black. He traces patterns among them, perhaps telling of hunters, spirits, or ancestors who watch from above. The tribe murmurs in awe, children whispering as though speaking too loudly might disturb the sky. Here's another quirky fragment. One young boy pipes up mid-story, insisting that one star is actually his lost goat, shining to find its way home. The crowd roars with laughter, the elder rolling his eyes but smiling. You chuckle too. The goat may be imaginary, but it has earned a permanent place in tonight's mythology. As the stories wind down, you realize you're witnessing more than entertainment. This is the tribe's library, its history book, its school. Firelight is the classroom, and memory is the only ink. These songs and tales will ripple forward, retold tomorrow, next year, maybe even 1,000 years from now if echoes survive. Historians still argue whether specific myths traveled across tribes or arose independently. Did early humans share stories across continents, or did every group invent its own constellations and monsters? You can't answer, but staring at the stars, you suspect the truth is both. Some stories born of common sky, others born of unique fears.
The fire crackles lower, embers glowing red. Children begin nodding off against their mothers, eyelids heavy. Adults speak in softer tones now, lauter fading into murmurs. The energy has ebbed, leaving contentment in its place.
You're tired too, though unwilling to leave. The stories cling to you, threads weaving through your imagination, stitching you into the tribe's fabric. You've sung, you've danced, you've fumbled your claps and snaps, but you've also learned. Music and story aren't luxuries here. They're the pulse of survival, the glue of community, the spell that keeps memory alive when paper doesn't exist. As the last story ends, the elder leans back, eyes reflecting firelight. He says something softly, the crowd nodding. You don't know the words, but the meaning feels clear. We've shared the fire, the food, the stories. Now we rest. And so you lean too, gazing once more at that endless sky. Stories swirl in your mind, the gold star, the hunters in the heavens, the chants that still echo in your chest. The night deepens, but your place here feels more secure than ever. The fire's glow has dimmed into a bed of coals, sending up the occasional hiss when a spark finds moisture in the wood. The children, lulled by stories and song, now slump into laps or curl against one another like bundles of warmth. Adults begin shifting again, preparing for the quietest part of the night.
You too feel the pull of sleep, though the tribe has one more rhythm to follow before true rest, the watch.
In a world without locked doors or sturdy walls, night is not entirely safe. The same darkness that reveals stars also hides predators. Lions, hyenas, even snakes sometimes slither close, curious about the smell of food and the sound of humans. So the tribe divides the hours, choosing who will remain awake, tending the fire, listening for rustles beyond the circle of light. You watch as 2 men and a woman are chosen tonight. They don't complain, in fact, there's a kind of pride in the role. The watchers settle with spears across their laps, eyes adjusting to the shadows, ears tuned to every creak of branches and every whisper of wind. You think of a mainstream historical fact. Many anthropologists believe fire not only cooked food but extended the human day. Around flames, people could tell stories, plan hunts, or simply be together long after the sun sank. But that extended day came with responsibility. Keeping fire alive meant keeping the tribe alive. Watching the coals, you sense how much depended on embers that never went dark. One child stirs, refusing to sleep, and insists on joining the watchers. He holds a stick like a spear, fighting off imaginary wolves. The adults humor him, ruffling his hair, then gently sending him back to curl beside his mother. The act is sweet, though it carries weight. Even children feel the seriousness of night. A quirky tidbit drifts into your mind. In some prehistoric sites, archaeologists have found piles of burnt herbs near fire pits, suggesting people tossed plants into flames for smoke. Maybe to keep insects away, maybe to ward off spirits, maybe just because it smelled nice. Tonight, you see a woman scatter crushed leaves onto the coals, releasing a sharp, minty fragrance.
The smoke curls outward and suddenly mosquitoes retreat.
Practical magic with a hint of mystery. The camp softens into near silence. Some adults murmur softly, finishing conversations left unfinished at dusk. A mother hums as she rocks her baby. Someone coughs, another shifts against the mat of leaves. Otherwise, the night belongs to crickets, distant owls, and the occasional grunt of something unseen in the forest. Historians still argue whether prehistoric tribes truly slept in strict shifts or if the entire group dozed lightly, waking at every sound. What you witness suggests both. While the watchers sit upright, many others stir at the faintest noise, half asleep but alert. Sleep here is never the heavy, oblivious kind you might have under blankets at home. It's layered, cautious, always ready to snap into wakefulness. You lie down on a mat woven from reeds and skins, its roughness softened by exhaustion. The air is cooler now, brushing your cheeks with a breeze. Overhead, stars pulse brighter without moonlight, and the Milky Way seems almost close enough to touch. Your eyelids droop, but you resist, wanting to witness how the night breathes. The watchers whisper among themselves occasionally, trading stories to stay awake. One jokes quietly, pointing toward the bushes where earlier the frog had dragged a spear. You stifle a laugh, remembering the absurdity, the frog-turned hunting partner. Humor, even in the dead of night, eases vigilance. You roll onto your side, noticing how families cluster, parents flanking children, friends side by side. But as other worlds, the warmth, the fortress. The tribe becomes a living house, each person a brick in the architecture of safety. You've joined their design, another body in the circle, another set of ears in the night. The smell of smoke clings to your skin, mixing with earth and sweat. It's oddly comforting. You realize how fire has become not just heat, but a perfume of belonging. Without it, the dark would feel bottomless. With it, you feel cocooned, as though wrapped in a blanket woven from light itself. A faint whistle stirs in the trace. Instantly, one watcher straightens, spear ready. The others lean forward, listening. You tense toe, heart tugging. They can stretch the nose consequent, soft padding steps. Your mind leaps to lions, hyenas, monsters. But then out of the dark a deer emerges, sniffing cautiously at the edge of the light. The watchers relax, though they remain wary. The animal lingers, then darts away. Danger passes this time, but your pulse takes longer to calm. The fire cracks again, and you see how carefully the watchers feed it, never letting it blaze too high, never letting it fade. They balance wood like conductors balancing a song. The rhythm of tending is meditative, a practice in patience. You think back to your modern world, where sleep often feels rushed, restless, interrupted by glowing screens. Here, in the deep night of prehistory, sleep and wake are not separate states but a continuum. The tribe flows between them like water, sometimes still, sometimes rippling, never stagnant. As hours creep on, you drift in and out yourself. You wake briefly when someone adjusts the fire, when a cough sounds, when a night bird cries. Each time, you glimpse fragments of dream and reality interwoven, a mammoth striding through stars, a frog carrying a spear, a child pointing at the goat star. You're unsure which visions are stories told by others and which are stories told by your own mind. Somewhere in that blur, you realize another truth. Night is not just about rest, it's about imagination. In darkness when the body slows, the mind wanders. Dreams mingle with tales, fears with hopes. Perhaps myths were born like this, between embers and eyelids, half dreamed, half remembered, retold at dawn as truth. One of the watchers hums softly, a tune without words, just rising and falling notes. It carries through the night like a lullaby lacing into your drowsiness. You wonder if it's a personal song or one sung for centuries or simply something invented in the moment. It doesn't matter, the effect is the same. Your muscles loosen, breath deepens, and you drift closer to sleep. The coals glow low, a bed of red gems, the fire's breath steady but soft. Around you, the tribe has melted into stillness. Some snore faintly, others twitch in dreams. The watchers remain silhouettes against stars, guardians of this fragile pocket of safety. You let your eyes close fully now, surrendering. The world narrows to warmth at your side, the scent of smoke, the song of night insects. You are part of the circle, part of the architecture of survival. Sleep comes not with isolation but with trust that others are awake, that fire still burns, that the tribe holds you within its woven net of care. Morning tiptoes back into the camp not with blaring alarms or flashing phone screens, but with the softest cues. The faint graying of the sky, the first hesitant chirps of birds, and the slow shifting of bodies waking from their woven huddle. You stir, stretching limbs stiff from sleeping on mats of reeds and skins. Around you the tribe comes alive like embers rekindled, groggy at first, then gradually brighter. A baby fusses, and her mother soothes her with a hum that blends seamlessly into the chorus of morning birds. Children rub their eyes, already tugging at each other's arms to resume yesterday's games. Adults sit up, brushing dust from their skin, scratching at insect bites, yawning wide enough to reveal teeth sharp and unpolished by modern dentistry. You glance around and realize you survived the night. No lion rides, no collapsing fire, no wandering too far into dreamland. The watchers, bleary-eyed but proud, finally set aside their spears. One man stretches his arms and lets out a groan that might as well be a declaration of victory. The fire is coaxed back into flame with dry twigs, smoke spiraling up into the pale dawn. You breathe it in, sharp, smoky, strangely comforting. Mainstream historical fact slides into your head. Some archaeologists believe early mornings in prehistoric camps were times of quiet planning. While food and tools were readied, discussions about hunting routes, gathering areas, and seasonal movements took place. The fire wasn't just for warmth, it was the meeting table, the day's agenda scribbled in smoke instead of ink. And indeed, the elders gather now, squatting near the fire, voices low but steady. They point toward the horizon, gesture at the forest, mime the movements of prey. A boy hovers nearby, trying to listen in until one elder swats him away with mock annoyance. You can tell decisions are being made, where hunters will go, which paths gatherers will take, how long the camp might remain in this spot before moving again. Meanwhile, others set about the rituals of waking life. One woman combs through another's hair with a carved bone pick, searching carefully and triumphantly squashing tiny parasites. You grimace, but she laughs. It's grooming, bonding, and hygiene rolled into one. Another group heads toward the stream, splashing water on their faces, rinsing away ash and sweat. A child squeals as a sibling dumps water over his head. Morning baths, primitive style. Then comes a quirky tidbit. A man produces a small pouch of ground herbs and clay, mixing it with water until it forms a gritty paste. He rubs this onto his teeth with a chewed stick, grimacing at the taste. You blink, realizing he's brushing his teeth, or at least the prehistoric version of it. Without Colgate or mint flavoring, dental hygiene is not glamorous but clearly not ignored. Breakfast, if you can call it that, is far simpler than the feast of the night before. Leftover roasted roots are reheated in embers, fish bones gnawed clean for any scraps, a handful of berries divided among eager hands. A child proudly contributes a honeycomb found tucked in a tree hollow yesterday. Honey drips down chins as everyone shares, sweet and golden in the morning light. You lick some yourself, sticky and rich, realizing how rare and treasured this flavor must be. Historians still argue whether early humans ate in fixed meals or simply grazed throughout the day. What you see here suggests a mix. Whatever is available gets eaten whenever it appears. The concept of 3 square meals a day is far in the future. Survival meals bend to opportunity, not the clock. After food, the tribe stirs with new energy. Men check their spears, sharpening edges against stone. Women ready baskets, tucking younger children at their hips or assigning older ones to watch the little ones who can't yet keep up. Tools are counted: digging sticks, scrapers, nets. Everyone seems to have a role, though the fluidity is striking.
No one shouts orders. Instead, responsibilities emerge naturally, almost instinctively. You're invited to help. One woman hands you a basket, gestüring toward forest.
She mimes digging and pulling, making it clear roots are on the morning menu. You grin, nod, and shoulder the basket, though you know you'll probably slow them down more than speed things up. As the hunters slip silently into the trees, the gatherers move with steady chatter. Children trail alongside, some genuinely helping, others distracted by beetles, sticks, or the occasional chase of a bird. The sun is climbing now, painting everything in soft gold. The day has begun in earnest, and with it, the cycle continues: hunt, gather, share, survive. You pause, glancing back at the camp. A few remain behind, the elderly, the very young, those recovering from minor injuries. They tend the fire, watch the belongings, and wait for the others to return. Even resting is a contribution here, guardianship of hearth and home base. The walk toward the gathering grounds is slow, winding through familiar trails. You stumble over roots, earning amused glances from the children who dart past effortlessly. They point out plants, mushrooms, and berries with practiced ease. You realize they know this forest like the back of their soot-smudged hands. For them, the wilderness isn't wilderness. It's home, pantry, pharmacy, and playground all in one. A woman pauses to pick a particular flower, crushing its petals and rubbing them onto her arms. The scent is sharp, lemony. She gestures at the buzzing insects nearby, then at her skin, then smiles. Natural insect repellent. You try it too, the sticky juice clinging to your skin. It works better than you'd expect, though the smell isn't exactly designer cologne. Your mind drifts back to the fire circle, the plans, the decisions. You realize mornings in this world are not about rushing, but aligning. The tribe syncing itself to the land, to the season, to the needs of the day.
There's no calendar, no clock, no buzzing reminder. The sun itself is the only supervisor, and as it rises, so do they. One child hands you a berry, grinning with rage.
You taste it, tart, sweet, bursting with juice.
Another lesson hidden in generosity: food is not hoarded but shared, even when scarce. You wonder how different the modern world would look if breakfast were always eaten this way, passed hand to hand, bite to bite.
As the morning light sharpens, you feel the rhythm settle in your bones.
This is the cycle of life, unhurried but unrelenting. Think, tent, plan, eat, move.
It feels ancient and strangely comforting, a rhythm your body seems to remember even though your mind insists you're out of place. By the time the tribe scatters into the forest to gather, you're fully awake, basket in hand, ready to try your part. You've shared their breakfast, smeared their insect repellent, laughed at their grooming rituals, and watched the sun climb with them. The day ahead promises challenges, but for now, you stand at the threshold of morning, woven firmly into the tribe's flow. The forest seems to open its arms as you and the gatherers push deeper inside. The ground is soft with damp leaves, the air humming with insect wings and bird song. Sunlight filters through the canopy, dappling the earth in shifting patterns. Your basket swings from your arm, though so far it holds little more than a few berries tossed in by children who seem more competent foragers than you. The women lead the way, stopping often to crouch beside plants that to your eyes look like identical green weeds. With practiced fingers, they dig carefully with pointed sticks, loosening the soil to reveal hidden treasures, starchy tubers, pale roots, small bulbs. Each is held up triumphantly, brushed clean, and dropped into baskets. You follow suit, jabbing clumsily at the ground, breaking one root in half before even realizing it was edible. Your teacher chuckles, pats your arm, and slides the broken piece into her basket anyway.
Nothing is busted.
Mainstream historical fact drifts into your head. Archaeologists have found evidence of grinding stones dating back tens of thousands of years, used for processing grains and roots. Far from being pure carnivores, many prehistoric groups relied heavily on plant foods. Some researchers even argue that gathering contributed more steady calories than hunting did, though hunting offered prestige and drama. The forest echoes with the small but constant chatter of children. They race ahead, pointing out plants, tugging at vines, daring each other to climb low branches. At one point, a boy shrieks with glee, holding up a fat grub pulled from rotten wood. You grimace. He pops it into his mouth and crunches happily. Protein snack, prehistoric edition. The others cheer and beg for one too. You politely decline, but curiosity gnaws at you. Historians still argue whether insects made up a major part of diets or were more of a survival fallback. Judging by these kids, the debate feels settled. Bugs are on the menu.
Deeper still, you stumble upon a patch of mushrooms sprouting from decayed logs. A woman crouches, studying them closely, sniffing and poking with the tip of a stick. She gathers a few but leaves most untouched. Poison or food? The line between the two seems razor thin, and knowledge is literally a matter of life or death. You wonder how many experiments it took, how many unlucky tasters to figure out what could be eaten.
Quirky tidbit here, one woman rubs crushed leaves on her lips, staining them a faint red. She laughs with the others, striking a pose. Makeup, primitive style. You realize even in survivalist contexts, vanity and expression sneak through. The kids clap at her antics, and you can't help but grin. Who knew prehistoric lipstick might be a thing?
Hours pass. Your basket grows heavy with roots, nuts, and berries. The sun is here now light stronger ear hotter.
Sweat trickles down your back, and insects buzz persistently despite your lemony plant repellent. The women continue with tireless rhythm, their movements efficient, their knowledge vast. They know which plants bruise easily, which nuts need cracking, which berries stain teeth. You lag behind, but do your best. At one clearing, a group pauses for a short break. Baskets are set down and children play tag between the trees. A woman pulls out a stone tool and begins pounding a handful of nuts, cracking shells open. She offers you one, oily, rich, satisfying. You bite down and realize why nuts were so prized, calorie-dense, portable, and lasting. You remember reading that caches of cracked nuts have been found in ancient caves, evidence that these were stored as treasure long before coins existed.
Suddenly a commotion, one of the children cries out.
He stumbled into a patch of thorny brambles, arms scratched and bleeding lightly. He howls, and instantly women surround him, pulling him free, cooing comfort. One tears strips of fiber from her skirt, pressing them against the scratches. Another smears sap from a nearby tree, sticky and golden, onto the wounds. You recognize it vaguely as antiseptic, nature's band-aid. Within minutes, the boy is calmer, sniffling but soothed. The gathering resumes as if nothing happened, though you're quietly amazed at the speed and wisdom of their response. The group eventually circles back toward camp, baskets brimming. The children now carry smaller loads, proud of their contributions. A girl shows you her collection of bright berries, making you taste one carefully before announcing with authority, "Safe." You obey, and it's tart but edible. You suspect she knows more about botany at age 6 than you do with all your modern schooling. On the walk back, someone starts a song. It's a low hum, wordless, rising and falling with the pace of their steps. Others join in, voices blending into a rhythm that matches the sway of the baskets. The melody is repetitive, soothing, hypnotic. You join, humming uncertainly at first, then stronger. The forest seems to hum along with you, leaves rustling in time. Historians still argue whether music emerged for ritual, coordination, or simply joy. In this moment, though, the reason doesn't matter. The song holds the group together, making the heavy load lighter, the steps less weary.
You feel it too, a strange camaraderie pulsing through the shared vibration of voice.
When the camp comes into view again, smoke rising faintly from the fire, you feel both relief and pride. The baskets are lowered, children scatter to show off finds, and the gathered food is piled carefully near the hearth. Some items will be eaten immediately, others saved for leaner days. You wipe sweat from your brow, realizing you've contributed, clumsily, yes, but still.
And just as you're catching your breath, one woman presses a berry into your palm, nodding as if to say welcome.
You pop it into your mouth, the burst of flavor sharp and refreshing. It tastes not just of fruit, but of belonging. The morning has shifted into midday, and the gathering part of the tribe's rhythm is complete. Soon the hunters will return, hopefully successful, and the day's balance of work, food, and community will continue. But for now, you sink down near the fire, basket emptied, body tired, and heart strangely light. The camp hums with a steady rhythm now, baskets of roots and berries placed neatly beside the fire, children darting in and out of the shade like sparrows. You've barely had time to sit when the faint sound of rustling from the tree line makes every head turn. Spears are lifted, voices hush, and for a moment you wonder if a predator has crept too close.
Then, with a ripple of relief, the hunters emerge, sweaty, silent, burdened with the weight of their quarry.
At first you don't even see it, the way they carry it wrapped in leaves and slung between two men. Then the shape becomes clear, a medium-sized antelope, legs bound, fur still bristling. It is not enormous, but it is food enough for a feast, and the camp erupts in cheers, children running forward to touch the prize. The hunters smile faintly, though exhaustion lines their faces.
They have walked miles, stalked carefully, and struck at the right moment with sharpened spears tipped in stone.
Mainstream historical fact surfaces, archaeologists have found spear points dating back over 400,000 years, showing that hunting with tools was an ancient skill long predating Homo sapiens. This success you're witnessing is part of a tradition stretching unimaginably far back. The men lay the animal near the fire, and immediately work begins. Knives of flint and obsidian appear, their edges sharper than most steel. One man kneels, making the first careful cuts. Children crowd close until they're shooed away. You hesitate, queasy, but curiosity keeps your eyes fixed. The skin peels back, revealing muscle, fat, and sinew. The smell is pungent, raw. Historians still argue whether division of labor in early tribes was rigid, men always hunting, women always gathering, or whether roles were more flexible. Watching now, you notice women step forward too, helping strip hide, slicing smaller cuts, collecting entrails for use.
Nothing is wasted.
Even bones and sinew will become tools, thread, glue. The animal's life feeds not only stomachs but the entire survival system. A quirky tidbit surprises you as the butchering continues. One elder smears a streak of fresh blood across his cheeks, laughing as others mimic him. Children squeal and paint each other's arms. It looks like play, but also something deeper, a ritual of pride, of acknowledging the hunt's success. Primitive face paint, equal parts joke and ceremony. You're offered a strip of fresh liver, raw and slippery. Your stomach knots. One hunter pops it into his mouth, chewing with gusto, eyes shining. Raw organ meat prized for its nutrients. You politely decline, earning a shrug.
Zomione Else snatches it happily. The fire grows hotter, fueled by new wood.
Meat is laid on flat stones, sizzling as fat drips and crackles. The smell is intoxicating, smoky, mouth-watering. Roots from the morning's gathering are tossed into the embers, skins blistering, insides softening. Children hover, begging bites, but are waved back. The feast is communal, and everyone waits until enough is ready. You sit close, warmth licking your skin, stomach growling. One woman hands you a roasted root. You bite in, steam escaping, flavor earthy and sweet. Then comes the meat, charred outside, tender inside.
The taste shocks you, intenserisch primal.
You gnaw greedily, grease coating your lips. This is not fast food, not neatly packaged protein. It is survival and celebration in one bite. The camp comes alive with chatter and laughter. Stories are told, hunters miming the chase, how the antelope stumbled, how the spear struck true. Children act out their own exaggerated versions, brandishing sticks. The tribe laughs, their voices rising with the smoke. You laugh too, caught in the glow of shared triumph. Then a moment of quiet reverence. One elder lifts a piece of meat, holds it toward the sky, murmurs words you don't understand. Others bow heads briefly. Gratitude, whether to the animal, the spirits, or simply the day's luck. Historians still argue whether such gestures in prehistoric life were religion, superstition, or early philosophy.
To you it feels like a mix of all three, wrapped in gratitude as tangible as the meat itself.
After the first hunger is sated, attention turns to preservation. Strips of meat are cut thin, hung over smoke to dry. Some is buried in ash to keep cool, others packed into animal skin pouches. Future meals are secured, the feast extended. You realize these people aren't just eating, they're planning, ensuring survival beyond today. Children gnaw on bones, cracking them with stones to suck the marrow. You watch, wincing at the sound, but curiosity wins. A bone is offered to you, marrow soft and buttery, surprisingly delicious.
You look at yourself, grease dripping down your chin. The children cheer. You've joined their club of messy eaters.
As the sun lowers, bellies full, the camp slips into a dreamy satisfaction. Some lie back, staring at drifting clouds. Others sing low songs, rhythmic and repetitive, accompanied by the thump of hands on hollow logs. Music, meal, and memory blend into one. Quirky asides surface again. One child pretends to be the antelope, running on all fours until another hunter brings him down with a stick. The adults laugh, cheering the performance. Theater, it seems, was alive long before Broadway. You sit near the fire, warmth radiating, body heavy with food. Your thoughts drift to modern dinners, solo meals eaten while scrolling on phones, leftovers forgotten in fridges. Here, food is never solitary. Every bite is shared, every scrap valued, every meal woven into story and ritual. The hunters, once exhausted, now beam with pride, their efforts celebrated. The gatherers, too, honored for the roots and nuts that balance the feast. Everyone contributed, everyone eats. It's messy, smoky, sticky, but it feels whole.
The sun edges closer to the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink.
Children's laughter fades into drowsy murmurs. Adults lean back with satisfied sighs. The fire still crackles, meat still smokes, but the frenzy has softened into contentment.
You close your eyes briefly, listening to the hum of voice, the crackle of flames, the fading bird calls. The day has given its bounty and the tribe has taken it with gratitude and joy. Tomorrow will bring hunger again, but tonight there is enough. More than enough.
You lick your greasy fingers, laugh softly at yourself, and stretch out near the fire. The glow paints everyone in bronze and gold, shadows long and gentle. You've eaten with them, laughed with them, and joined their ritual. For now, you are part of this circle. The glow of the fire lingers in your eyes, even as the last rays of sunlight slip behind the trees. Stomachs are full, voices mellow, and the frantic energy of the hunt and feast is dissolving into a slower rhythm. Yet the day is far from finished. The tribe shifts naturally into its next cycle of life. Tools must be sharpened, hides scraped, bones carved, and the invisible machinery of survival maintained. You glance around and notice that no one truly rests in the modern sense. Even those who sit appear busy. A woman pulls a strip of antelope hide across a stone, scraping away flesh with a sharp flake of obsidian. The sound is raspy, steady, almost like sandpaper. Another woman twists long fibers from plants, spinning them together into cordage with nimble fingers. A child imitates her, fumbling but eager, his cord unraveling almost as quickly as he makes it. The mother chuckles but lets him try. Practice is as important as product. Men take to the task of reshaping weapons. Spears dulled in the hunt are examined, stone points retouched. One hunter works intently with a hammerstone, chipping flakes from a larger piece of flint. Each strike is precise, delicate, dangerous. You marvel at the craftsmanship, the edges gleam sharp as razors. Mainstream historical fact comes to mind. Archaeologists refer to this process as knapping, and flakes chipped thousands of years ago still lie preserved in ancient sites, each one a fossilized spark of human ingenuity. Quirky tidbit: one of the hunters, bored with the repetitive strikes, blows into the hollow of a bone tube he's been shaping. The result is a strange whistle that makes the children laugh and the dogs bark nervously. Accidental music from a half-made tool, it seems creativity slips in wherever it can. He grins sheepishly but blows again anyway, clearly pleased with his accidental instrument. Nearby, two elders sit together, grinding pigments between stones. Red ochre dust coats their fingers, staining them rusty orange. They mix it with animal fat until it forms a thick paste. With careful strokes, they smear it onto a flat piece of bark, experimenting with lines and handprints. You realize you're witnessing art in its rawest form, a blend of ritual, communication, and play. Historians still argue whether such markings were religious symbols, hunting charms, or simply doodles. Whatever the case, the act itself feels timeless. As you watch, an elder suddenly presses his pigment-covered palm against your arm, leaving a red print. The children erupt in laukata. You laugh too, staring at the mark, a prehistoric tattoo, temporary but oddly powerful. You feel in that moment less an outsider and more a canvas of their world. The firelight brightens as more wood is added, illuminating the busy circle of work. Sparks leap upward, vanishing into the darkening sky. The camp hums with productivity, each person adding to the group's strength. Bones are split for needles, hides stretched for clothing, cords braided for nets. Even the smallest scraps are transformed, fat dripped into shells for lamps, sinew set aside for bowstrings. Waste doesn't exist here, every part has a purpose. You're handed a task, smoothing the edge of a stick into a digging tool. The wood is hard, and your hands clumsy, but you give it a try. The tribe encourages you with nods and amused smiles. You imagine archaeologists in the far future stumbling upon one of your crooked creations and debating its purpose. Clearly ceremonial, they'd say, blissfully unaware that you were just bad at woodworking. A gentle breeze moves through the camp, carrying the scent of smoke and drying meat. The rhythmic sounds of scraping, pounding, and chipping become a kind of music of their own. It reminds you that survival isn't only about dramatic hunts, it's about these quieter, repetitive acts, the maintenance of tools and skills that keep hunger and danger at bay. One elder begins to tell a story while he works, his hands never pausing on the spear he sharpens. His voice rises and falls, accompanied by gestures that animate his tale. You don't understand the words, but the meaning comes through in tone and motion, a great beast, a chase, a narrow escape. The children listen wide-eyed, miming the beast's growl and the hunter's courage.
Oral tradition is alive here, each story sharpening not just memory but identity.
Quirky detail again, a boy sneaks up behind the storyteller, imitating his gestures with exaggerated clumsiness. The adults laugh, the elder swats him lightly, and the boy collapses in mock death. Humor, you realize, thrives even in these serious evenings. Perhaps especially then. As twilight deepens, tasks begin to wind down. Finished tools are set aside, hides stretched on racks to dry. Cordage is coiled neatly, pigment stored in hollowed bones. The work may resume tomorrow, but for now the essential labor of evening is complete.
You admire the sheer efficiency, no wasted derelict, no wasted effort. Every minute is claimed by necessity and yet never feels frantic. Historians still argue whether prehistoric people experienced leisure as we know it, or if survival consumed every waking hour. From what you say, the truth lies somewhere in between. Work and leisure blur, tasks and play intertwine. The boy's clumsy cordage, the hunter's burn whistle, the elder's painted palm, all blend necessity with creativity. Survival itself seems woven with moments of joy.
You glance at your crooked digging stick and grin. Maybe it's useless, maybe not, but it holds the memory of trying, of being included. You tuck it by your side as the camp prepares for the next stage of the evening.
The sky is almost black now, pierced by the first stars.
Crickets start their chorus, frogs croak from the stream. The day's labors, noisy and busy, are dissolving into the softer symphony of night. Around the fire, bodies lean closer together, tasks set aside, stories ready to take center stage. You feel the shift in the air, the practical has given way to the magical. And though the day is not yet done, you realize you've stepped with them into a world where work becomes memory, memory becomes myth, and myth becomes the glue holding everyone together. The fire is no longer just for cooking or warming, it has transformed into the glowing heart of the camp. Its orange tongues lick the dark, shadows stretching long across the ground, turning every movement into a dance. The tribe gathers closer now, tasks finished, hands free, minds hungry for something more than food. You shift on your reed mat, the crooked digging stick you made earlier tucked nearby, and let yourself sink into the glow. The first story begins quietly. An elder clears his throat, his face lined with years, his hands gesturing slowly as if carving the tale out of thin air. His voice is low, rhythmic, with pauses that draw the listeners forward, like the pull of a tide. Though you don't understand the exact words, the cadence tells you enough. There is a great hunt, a chase across plains, a beast larger than life, and a moment of triumph.
Children gasp, eyes wide. Adults nod, remembering similar hunts, perhaps embellishing them in their own minds.
Mainstream historical fact flickers in your head. Oral tradition was the backbone of prehistoric culture. Before writing, before tablets or papyrus, knowledge lived in spoken tales. Myths, warnings, hunting strategies, all passed from mouth to ear, generation to generation. This fire, you realize, is not just light and heat, it is a library, alive and flickering. The elder's hands mimic the beast's horns, his eyes gleam in the firelight, and his voice rises to a sudden roar that makes even you flinch. The children squeal, half frightened, half thrilled. Then he collapses into mock exhaustion, imitating the hunter's final blow. Cheers erupt, small hands clap, and the story concludes in laughter and applause. Before the sound fades, another voice picks up, a younger woman this time. Her story is softer, more melodic. She mimes gathering, plucking berries, finding a hidden hive of honey. Her hands shape the air as though pulling combs from branches, her face lit with joy. The children sigh wistfully, licking imaginary sweetness from their fingers. Even you can almost taste it.
The camp hums with appreciation, the story weaving not just survival but delight.
Then comes a quirky tidbit. One child, emboldened, leaps into the circle. He waves a stick like a spear, his little body trembling with drama. He reenacts the antelope hunt from earlier that day, exaggerating every detail. He trips, falls, then pops up with triumphant shouts, basking in laughter. Adults clap, encouraging him. Theatre is being born, spontaneous and joyful, nurtured by firelight. You grin, realizing that long before Netflix, this was binge-worthy entertainment. The stories continue, each voice adding to the night's tapestry. Some are cautionary, don't wander too close to the river at dusk or spirits will drag you down. Others are funny, filled with mischievous animals who outwit hunters. A few seem almost like songs, chanted in repetitive rhythms, accompanied by claps and the thump of hands on logs. Historians still argue whether these tales were rooted in truth or invention. Were they accurate records of hunts and dangers, or imaginative myths born from long nights? Sitting here, you realize it doesn't matter. Truth and myth blur, the line vanishes, and the story becomes the reality for those who listen. A pause comes, filled with the crackle of fire. Then, unexpectedly, one elder dips his fingers into the ochre paste mixed earlier. He smears a streak across his face, then across a flat stone, drawing simple lines.
The children lean forward entranced.
The story he tells now isn't only spoken. It's drawn, his gestures painting beasts and hunters in glowing orange shadow.
You felt chills.
You're watching the first flickers of visual storytelling, the precursor to cave paintings that would survive tens of thousands of years. Quirky detail slips in again. A boy smears his own face with leftover pigment, then leaps up roaring like a lion. The camp erupts in laughter, adults pretending to cower, children chasing each other with painted snarls.
Play, ritual, art, Oldsworld targeter, inseparable.
One story lingers longer than the others. It's told by a woman with hair streaked silver, her voice soft but commanding. Her gestures are sweeping, cosmic. She points at the stars, her words flowing like water. Even without understanding, you sense the scope, creation, spirits, the sky itself explained through metaphor and memory.
The children gaze upward, their mouths slightly open, as though the stars themselves are listening.
You remember that historians still argue whether prehistoric people saw the stars as gods, ancestors, or simply lights. But here, watching faces glow with awe, you know they carried meaning, and perhaps that meaning mattered more than the precise interpretation. The sky was a storybook, each flickering point another word.
Time slides by without you noticing. The fire grows lower, the circle tighter.
You're caught in a trance, lulled by the cadence of voices, the warmth of flames, the laughter that follows each dramatic gesture. You realize that story is as essential here as food. It binds, teaches, heals, and entertains. Without it, survival might be possible, but life would be empty.
As the last story dwindles, a hush falls. Only the crackle of embers remains, only the occasional chirp of night insects. Then, almost in unison, bodies lean back, heads resting on mats, eyes drifting closed. The fire burns low but steady, guarding the night with its soft glow.
You close your own eyes, still hearing echoes of roars and laughter, still tasting the honey from a story you never truly ate. You realize you've been fed twice, once with roasted meat and again with words. And strangely, it's the second feast that leaves you more full.
The night deepens, but the fire still whispers.
You stir, shifting on your mat of woven reeds and fur. Your belly is full, your ears still hum with stories, and yet your body does not entirely rest. Out here in the wilderness, no sleep is ever fully unbroken. There is always a part of you, small, tense, and watchful, listening for the snap of a twig or the low growl beyond the circle of light. Tonight, you sense the camp itself breathing with this rhythm. Some people lie curled, asleep in pairs or clusters, their shoulders touching for warmth. Others stir and adjust, turning over, sighing softly. Babies whimper, quickly hushed by their mothers. A faint cough rattles from one elder. It is a communal lullaby, imperfect but deeply human.
You lie there among them, wrapped in their shared vulnerability, realizing that no one truly sleeps alone.
A mainstream historical fact surfaces in your thoughts. Early humans rarely had uninterrupted sleep cycles. Instead, they likely experienced segmented sleep, 2 or more phases broken by quiet wakefulness. This first sleep and second sleep pattern is echoed in much later historical records, suggesting it is an ancient rhythm embedded in our species.
What you feel now, half awake, half dreaming, isn't strange at all. It is natural. The firelight flickers low, casting a gentler glow, and shadows fade into the edges of night.
The forest beyond seems infinite, yet full of subtle sounds, crickets scratching, leaves shifting, an owl hooting softly. Each noise carries weight, as though it could mean danger or nothing at all. Your ears strain, your muscles stay loose but ready. Sleep in the wild is always half an agreement with nature. I will rest if you let me.
Suddenly, a snap echoes from the brush. Your eyes jolt open.
You're not the only one. 3 hunters sit upright instantly, spears in hand. Their eyes dart to the tree line, every sense sharpened.
The fire pops, masking the sound.
Silence follows, thick and tense. Then a grunt, low, guttural. It isn't human. Quirky tidbit: some prehistoric people may have trained themselves to interpret specific nocturnal animal calls as signals, almost like an alarm system. Was that grunt a boar, a bear, or something stranger?
You strain your ears, heart quickening. The hunters exchange looks, mouths dicht. One creeps to the edge of the light, spear ready.
The camp is awake now, silent but alert, everyone frozen. Children cling to their mothers. The elder raises a hand, signaling stillness.
You relay Yuri, holding your breath. They brush restless again, closer.
Then, in a moment that feels both terrifying and absurd, a small shaggy animal trots out, not a predator, but a lone wild goat. Its eyes glow briefly in the firelight before it bolts away, startled by its own boldness.
The tension breaks.
Laughter bubbles up, hushed but genuine. Even the hunters grin, lowering their spears. Someone mimics the goat's bleat, setting off a wave of stifled chuckles. Danger has turned into humor, fear into relief.
The camp exhales.
Historians still argue whether fire itself was the ultimate deterrent against predators. Did lions and wolves truly fear flames, or were they simply cautious of the noise and light that meant humans were near? Either way, the fire crackles with renewed significance. It feels like a guardian spirit, and tonight you silently thank it for standing watch.
You lie back down, but your mind doesn't rest. Dreams begin slipping in, half-waking visions painted by fatigue and firelight.
You see shapes in the embers, antelope leaping, rivers flowing, strange beasts with horns like trees. You wonder if these flickers are what inspired myths, that blurry space between sleep and consciousness where imagination runs loose.
Someone shifts beside you and begins humming softly, a half song, half murmur.
Perhaps it's a lullaby. The tone is low, rhythmic, soothing. Others soon follow, faint voices layering in, creating a kind of collective drone. It is not planned, it simply emerges, a sound meant to calm the restless, to steady nerves after the false alarm.
You close your eyes and let it wash over you. It's like being rocked by the voices of an entire tribe.
Quirky moment again. One of the children, still restless, pokes at the fire with a stick and then waves it around like a torch. Adults chuckle softly, though one elder quickly plucks it from his hand before sparks can catch the mats. Even in the prehistoric night, kids can't resist playing with things they shouldn't.
The horse pass slowly. Sleep comes in waves you drift under only to wake again when someone stirs or when the wind changes. Once you catch the sight of two hunters taking quiet turns patrolling the Thames edge. They step softly, scanning, pausing to listen. This watch rotation feels instinctive, not ordered. Survival has trained everyone to share the burden. You marvel at the trust it takes to know someone else will keep watch while you close your eyes.
Later, the stars wheel above, shifting slightly in the heavens. You notice how one elder wakes, gazes upward for a long time, and then lies back down. Was he measuring time by constellations? Historians still debate whether early humans navigated their schedules by the stars long before farming calendars existed. But you suspect they did, at least in some simple way. Tonight, even you find yourself staring upward, watching Orion's faint belt, wondering if it is a clock, a compass, or just something beautiful to dream beneath.
Your mind floats again, this time toward deeper dreams. You imagine walking with glowing animals, their hides painted with fire. You hear rivers speaking, trees bending toward you, ancestors whispering in forgotten tongues. The line between real and unreal dissolves.
Perhaps that is why dreams mattered so much. They were never separate from waking life, but part of the same fabric.
You wake one final time before dawn.
The fire is nearly embers, glowing red like sleeping eyes. The camp is hushed, everyone breathing slow. Beyond, the forest is still. Even the crickets have quieted. It feels like the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for the first light. You turn on your mat, drawing the fur tighter. Your body is tired but at peace. Night has tested you, first with fear, then with laughter, then with strange dreams, and you've survived.
The goat is long gone, the stars still up over, and the tree still tugged.
Somehow, you know this rhythm will repeat again and again, alertness, laughter, trust, and dream. And in that endless cycle, humanity has found its way through countless nights.
The first pale streaks of dawn creep across the horizon, faint at first, but enough to paint the edges of the world in soft gray. You blink awake, body stiff from the uneven ground yet oddly refreshed.
Around you, the tribe stirs. A cough here, a yawn there, a shuffle of mats being folded or shaken free of dew. The fire is little more than glowing coals, but a few careful puffs coax it back to life. Smoke curls upward, sharp in the morning chill. The day begins not with words but with movement. People slip into their tasks as if pulled by invisible strings. Some head toward the river with baskets, others gather kindling, and the hunters grip their spears again. You join them, rubbing sleep from your eyes, feeling the air sharpen in your lungs. Mainstream historical fact: early mornings were crucial for survival. Animals stirred, water was cooler, and tasks like hunting or foraging were best done before the sun climbed high and drained everyone's strength. You notice how the tribe moves almost silently, efficient in their routines. The rhythm of daily survival is deeply ingrained. You follow a group to the river. Mist clings to the surface, drifting like spirits across the water. A woman crouches, cupping her hands to drink. Beside her, children splash their faces awake. One boy slips, falls halfway in, and bursts out, sputtering. Laughter ripples through the group, soft, careful, but real. Even in survival, joy insists on being part of the morning. Farther along, hunters fan out into the brush. You go with them, senses sharper now than yesterday. The grass is damp, the air tinged with the smell of earth and wildflowers.
A bird bursts from a bush, startling you, but the hunters don't flinch. They move like part of the landscape, silent, patient.
Historians still argue whether prehistoric people hunted every single morning or alternated with gathering and scavenging. Watching these hunters, you suspect the answer depends on need. Today their bodies are strong, spirits steady, they are willing to chase.
Soon you come across tracks in the mud. Cloven hooves press it deep.
A herd has passed recently. The hunters glance at each other, then motion you to stay low. Excitement quickens your breath, though you know you'd never match their skill. A quirky tidbit comes to mind. Some researchers believe early hunters occasionally smeared themselves with animal dung to mask their human scent. The thought alone makes you wrinkle your nose, though part of you wonders if it would really work. Watching these men crouch low, creeping into the wind, you half expect one of them to reach down and grab a handful, but thankfully, not today.
The Stalk begins.
You creep along, heart pounding, as the brush opens into a clearing. There they are, a small group of deer grazing, heads bobbing as they pluck at damp grass. The hunters freeze, spears poised.
For a moment, time itself halts. The air is so still you hear your own heartbeat in your ears. Then it happens, a rustle, a snap, a shout. The deer bolt.
Spears fly, feet thunder against the ground, and the chase erupts. You stumble after them, breath ragged, though within seconds the hunters vanish ahead, swallowed by trees.
The forest explodes with sound, hooves drumming, men shouting, branches breaking.
You push forward, following, until you see movement ahead, a deer cornered against a fallen log. A hunter lunges, spear driving forward.
It's over fast. The animal collapses, legs kicking weakly before a stilling.
The hunter kneels, whispering something, a gesture of respect, perhaps apology. The others gather, breaths steaming in the cool air, faces fierce but calm. One places a hand on the animal's side, then signals you closer.
The weight of the moment presses on you.
This isn't just food, it's life taken, transformed into survival. Back at camp, the kill becomes communal work. The carcass is skinned with stone blades, meat divided with practiced hands. Nothing is wasted, hide for mats and clothing, bones for tools, sinew for cordage. Children watch closely, learning by sight and repetition. You realize that every kill is a lesson not only in skill but in gratitude. Meanwhile, others return with baskets brimming with roots, berries, and edible leaves. The camp becomes a market of sorts, each group sharing what they've gathered. The smell of raw meat mingles with crushed herbs, a primal perfume of survival. Someone tosses you a handful of berries. They burst tart and sweet on your tongue, cutting through the heavier taste of roasted meat still lingering from last night. Quirky detail, one woman plucks mushrooms from a small bundle and sets them aside, shaking her head. Not food, but medicine, or maybe poison. Children are warned away with a sharp gesture. It's a reminder that knowledge isn't just about finding food, it's also about knowing what not to touch. As the sun climbs higher, tasks continue seamlessly. Hides are stretched out to dry, sinew strands twisted into thread, and bones cracked to suck out marrow. The camp hums with productivity, no overseer needed. Everyone knows their part. You marvel at the quiet efficiency. Then comes a pause. The hunters sit back, wiping sweat from their brows.
The women stretch, baskets emptied, children gnawing on scraps. For a moment, everything slows.
It is not laziness but balance, the rhythm of effort and rest. You take a breath, noticing how silence feels less threatening in daylight. The forest no longer looms, it simply exists. Historians still argue whether prehistoric tribes thought of days as structured units like we do. Did they count hours? Did they track tasks with mental lists? Or did they simply move with the sun, trusting instinct? Watching them now, you sense the latter. Life flows with the sky, not against it.
The sun warms your shoulders, the camp feels alive, and for a moment you almost forget the dangers of the night. Almost. A sudden commotion breaks the peace. Children shout, pointing toward the tree line. You will heart lurching.
A wildboar crashed through the brush, tusks gleaming, eyes met with panic. It charges through the camp, scattering baskets, appending a pile of drying reeds. Chaos erupts, screams, laughter, bodies darting.
One hunter grabs a spear, another throws a rock. The boar squeals, fair off crashing into the forest. Laukata bursts out after the adrenaline fades.
People pick up spilled berries, shake heads, grin at the mess. You realize how quickly danger flips to comedy here, how survival requires not just vigilance but humor.
You chuckle too, still catching your breath.
The day stretches onward. Tasks resume, broken by small interruptions, a squabble between children over a stick, a bird snatched from the air by a stone's throw, an elder teaching younger hands how to tie a better knot. Life feels simple, yet layered with constant meaning. You sit back as the sun slides toward midday, belly full of berries and roasted meat, the hum of work steady around you. Another day has begun, marked not by clocks or calendars but by hunger, laughter, fear and relief.
You know it will flow until dusk, and time night will test you again.
For now, though, you bask in the ordinary miracles of survival, the warmth of the sun, the buzz of insects, the chatter of children. Nothing here is guaranteed, and yet somehow everything continues.
The sun arcs low now, heavy and golden, spilling across the clearing like molten metal.
The air has grown thick with the day's heat, but it begins to soften as shadows lengthen. You stretch your back, feeling the knots of labor and fatigue, and notice the tribe slowing too. Hands finish weaving, hides are folded away, bones tucked into baskets. Even the children's play quiets, their shrieks dimming into softer giggles. The fire, which had burned small and practical during the day, is fed again.
Flammes rise, snapping against dry wood.
Smoke curls skyward in ribbons, carrying with it the scents of meat, herbs, and sweat. You settle near the warmth, knowing the circle will hold until night pulls fully overhead. Mainstream historical fact presses into your thoughts. Fire wasn't only for protection and food, it shaped circadian rhythms, allowing humans to extend waking hours, to talk, plan, and dream long after the sun was gone. Tonight, you sense that same stretch of time unfolding. The hunters return, not from necessity but with offering small catches, more roots, handfuls of nuts. There is no grand feast, no dramatic kill like yesterday, but rather a shared, humble meal. It is enough. People gather around, passing scraps, chewing slowly. Children lick their fingers. The camp hums with quiet gratitude. Historians still argue whether prehistoric groups measured time in days the way we do. Did they mark this as the end of something, or simply another turn of the cycle? Watching them settle, you realize they don't seem to divide existence. Life flows forward, a single stream, not cut into neat pieces. After eating, the tribe begins another ritual of unwinding. The children tumble together in mock chases, falling into laughter. A few older ones sit to the side, scraping stones into sharper edges under the elders' watchful eye.
Adults lean back, talking low.
Hands trace shapes in the dirt, perhaps recounting the day's hunt, perhaps just doodling. You think about how universal this is, the need to review, to process, to replay what has happened. A quirky tidbit arrives in memory. Archaeologists have found small, hand-sized stones shaped into animals or abstract figures, possibly toys or talismans. Looking at one child rolling a pebble across the ground, pretending it's a deer, you can't help but wonder, maybe the line between toy and sacred object was never very thick.
The fire grows brighter as darkness deepens.
Sparks leap upward, joining the stars. People gather closer, voices rising, laughter carrying. Tonight feels lighter, freer. There is no near disaster, no predator lurking, only the rhythm of shared safety.
One elder begins humming. The sound is deep, guttural, vibrating through the circle.
Others join in, voices layering like waves. Soon it is not one song but a collective pulse, a chant that makes your chest buzz. Feet stamp gently, hands clap against thighs.
Shadows sleep in rhythm painted against bark and stone.
This music, rau, primal, kommunal?
You realize you've stumbled into the birthplace of performance. Historians still argue whether music emerged first from ritual, courtship, or play. Sitting here, you feel all three tangled together. The chant is hypnotic yet playful, purposeful yet joyous.
You laugh softly, realizing that somewhere inside you still wants to dance. Chant ebbs, replaced by stories. You've heard many now, but tonight they take on a special glow. The tales are not only of hunts and spirits, but of the tribe itself, of children born, of journeys made, of bonds kept. You sense pride in their voices, a recognition that simply surviving another day is worth telling.
Ten vitut warning Silengsfalls.
Not fearful, but reverent. The elder with silver hair rises, stepping into the circle. She lifts her arms and begins a slow, sweeping motion. Her voice is softer than before, a whisper barely rising above the crackle of fire. The story is different. It feels older, heavier. Her gestures are toward the stars, toward the horizon, toward the beating chests of her people.
You realize she is speaking not just of today, but of life itself.
Though you can't parse her words, you feel their weight, a reminder that existence is fragile yet meaningful. You shiver, not from cold but from recognition. Every tribe, every time, must have found ways to make sense of it all.
The children's eyes widen, adults lean closer. The fire reflects in every gaze, turning them into twin suns. The story stretches long, rolling like a tide, 10 dwindles. When it ends, no one claps, no one lows. They simply sit in silence as though the night itself is absorbing the lesson. You lie back, eyes on the stars.
The same stars you saw last night, the same ones your ancestors saw, the same ones humans still look to now. Some constellations shimmer faint, others bold.
Your mind drifts.
Were they gods? Maps? Or simply companions to make the dark less lonely? Historians still debate, but lying here you sense they were all three.
Gradually voices resume. Laukata returns. The heaviness lifts. People lie down, pulling furs close, battling into the rhythm of night once more. The fire softens but does not die. It will burn until dawn, guardian of sleep.
You curl onto your mat, muscles sore, eyelids heavy. Around you the camp breathes together, one heartbeat shared among many.
And so the day closes, not with finality but with a gentle continuation. Another dawn will come, another hunt, another lauk, another story.
Life here is not about endings, it is about cycles, circles, patterns that spin on endlessly. For a moment you feel yourself dissolve into that rhythm, no longer separate. You are part of the tribe, part of the fire, part of the stars. And then finally, sleep comes.
The fire dims in your mind, shrinking into soft embers. The voice of the tree grows quieter, fading into the hush of night. Your breath slows, steady and even, as though it too is joining the rhythm of this ancient camp.
You are safe now. The predators have passed, the hunt is done, and the stories have been told. All that remains is the comfort of rest.
Imagine the fur beneath you, warm and soft. Imagine the stars above, watching silently, patient and eternal. Your body feels heavy with either breath, sinking deeper into stillness.
Muscles soften, thoughts scatter like sparks rising and vanishing. The night no longer feels sharp or threatening, it feels like a blanket, endless and protective.
If your mind drifts to the sounds of the camp, children laughing, hunters whispering, the elders' chant, let them fade into echoes. They are still there, but far away, safe and contained. You no longer need to listen. You only need to rest.
Picture the fire burning gently at the edge of your dreams.
It does not need tending. It does not need feeding. It will keep glowing as long as you need it to. Let that thought warm you, steady you.
And as your breath continues, slow and deep, let yourself slip fully into rest. The night is long, but it will pass. Morning will come and visit new stories. But for now, you are exactly where you need to be, quiet, safe, and still. Sleep well, traveler. Sleep deeply. Sleep as though the stars themselves are standing guard. End of script. Sweet dreams.